So I'm giving you a behind the scenes look at something super unique, super special that we usually don't do. You guys may have heard, but I have this thing called The Community. It is my VIP heart-to-heart community. I talked to them this past week. We meet every week on Zoom. We meet once a week, Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern time usually. I talked to all of them and they said, you know what? This thing is super, super cool. We really want to share it with the world. We don't mind if you share this one episode with everyone. So I released it on my podcast. It's almost 3 hours long. I think it's actually 2 hours and 46 minutes. This is the video version of it. You get to watch everybody talking. You get to finally meet the faces that I always talk about. The person that's lost 150 pounds, the people with lipoprotein A problems, the guy we call Big Pharma Mike, who's always telling us what Big Pharma has to do, what they don't have to do, what the rules are, what the rules aren't. You get to talk to some people who just have a elevated ApoB, and some people that have problems with just weight loss. Some people are asking about medication. Some people want to know how to live longer, healthier, and happier. This is the coolest, most unique, exclusive thing that we do. You can join the community for free for 1 month. If you want to, I'll tell you how to do that. You type in the code 1 month, the number 1, MONTH, all caps. You get in for 1 month for free. This opportunity is not always available, but it is right now. If you're seeing this, it is definitely available right now. If you're watching this really far into the future, it may not be. Just check and see if it's available. Definitely super cool. The people in there are amazing friends. We've become super good friends. We've been doing this for about a year now. The OGs are always on there. You know, you got the Rick, the Martin, some of the original people that started the community, and they're the ones that thought of the community. They're the ones that said, hey, you should start a community. We love talking to you. We want to be able to ask you questions every week. We have health problems. We can't barely talk to our doctors long enough, but we can talk to you through the app. The community does come with an app. You can text me and talk to me all day. You can post your lipids in there, post your CT scans, your calcium scores, what have you. You can talk to me on the app all day and all night. And you can talk to me on the Zoom Lives that we do. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dr. Allo. I'm a double board certified cardiologist. I'm a certified personal trainer. I am obsessed with living longer, healthier, and happier. I want to give you full access to healthcare, not just the 10, 20 seconds that you get with your doctor when you go see them. And they don't even really address all of your issues or concerns. So that's what the community is for. If you want to join, click the link below, type in the code 1 month, and you will get in for free. Without further ado and me rambling and blabbering on anymore, here's the community. If you love it and enjoy it, click the link and you can join us. Maybe we should start. Maybe everyone can introduce themselves. We'll start maybe with some of the people that have been on here for a while. Andrew, why don't you
I'll give us a start.
We'll just go alphabetical, I guess.
My name is Andrew. I've always been a big fan of Dr. Alo. I work in the cardiology field. I'm big pharma. So I work for big pharma. So, I make sure Dr. Alo gets the checks. No, I'm kidding, but I'm just kidding. I work for big pharma. So I'm very in tune with the biochemistry and stuff. I really admire what Dr. Alo does. And with all the quackery out there with the fitness influencers, it's really good to see somebody spreading evidence-based medicine for the betterment of all of us. All right, take it away.
All right, yeah. So Andrew is the one that I always call Big Pharma Mike. On all the podcasts when I'm talking about, we have a person in here called Big Pharma Mike. It's kind of funny, but he helps us understand how regulated the pharmaceutical industry is. Like, he can't even hand me a piece of like a notepad, with their name on it or anything that says anything. Like, if he actually brings me a pen, he has to charge it and write it down and all of that, which,
it's a very regulated industry and very regulated. And, the way we present information and what we can and cannot do it's been really misconstrued. And there's a lot of myths out there. And, between the doctor relationship with the rep and, I've demystified some of that. So, well, we got a lot of people coming in here, Doc. So let's keep it rolling.
That's awesome. Let's go, Gretchen. Yeah. Give us your intro. Gretchen's been on probably her and Martin the longest of all the people that are on right now. Maybe we'll go with Gretchen.
I found Dr. Alo through TikTok, and I loved his concept of not fearing food and being able to live a healthy lifestyle, being able to lose weight, find a way to sustain it. And because I had been struggling with my weight my whole life, and I joined the community in June, and I was down like 40, maybe 50 pounds. And since then, I'm now down 145 pounds. So with the help of him, I have been very successful. And just being part of this community, having a place to be accountable, and being able to get through different hiccups and share successes and not failures, but like setbacks. I mean, it's a very open community that allows me to get feedback when needed. And it's very supportive. I appreciate very much, because you go to the doctor and you don't get the time that you need all the time. Yeah, Dr. Alo gives you as much time as you want and answers all the questions that you need whenever you need them. It's amazing. We all, and even all the other members in here, we're very supportive of each other. So it's an amazing community that I didn't know I needed, but I've been here since June and I can't see leaving. And like, we're family now.
I won't let you leave, even if you tried.
Oh, I love that. Thank you.
No, but so for everyone who doesn't know, basically it's a once a week meeting that we do 9 p.m. on Monday nights. Now, every once in a while we do bump it to Tuesday if it gets a little crazy on Mondays. But sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Gretchen.
No, I mean, I've been on every week pretty much, and the last month I've been struggling. I haven't been losing. My body has been resisting change right now, but not really.
Not as
I've been
fast as you'd
maintaining.
like.
So this weekend I finally broke through, and I mean, hopefully I'm on a downward trend. If not, I'm still happy. Who can't be happy about losing a whole human being? I've lost 145 pounds. I'll never be able to say that again, because I'm not going backwards. I've created a healthy lifestyle that I can live with. I'm not restricting myself of anything. I'm eating things that I enjoy, that I'm not doing anything that's difficult. People ask me, well, what are you doing? How are you doing this? I go, I was taught to do things that are easy. I create habits that make it so I'm not restricting myself, so that I don't get tired of it. So this is something that I've been able to change my lifestyle without knowing it. And now my new lifestyle, I don't even call it that, because I'm doing things that I enjoy. I mean, I'm a totally different person, but I love the person that I am. And I wake up every day a totally different person, and that's okay. I learn new things every day.
And one thing I'll add is, Gretchen, the mentality and like the mindset that you have evolved and changed has been just tremendous watching over the last year almost. And one thing I will tell you guys, if you are in the community, you get access to all of our weekly Zooms. You can go back to when Gretchen first started, watch how she used to talk, and watch the mental struggles and the hiccups and the setbacks, how she used to eat only 800 calories a day, and we got her up to almost 3,000, how she's tracking now, how she walks and actually enjoys walking. She even started running, 9-minute miles is pretty impressive. But you can go back and access all the previous Zooms, all these other private like Zooms and Facebook groups and what have you, but you can go back and watch all of them. Let's see. Martin is on. Martin, do you want to give us a brief introduction? Martin's been on here. He's probably one of the original 2 or 3 people that joined. He's from Chicagoland.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Hey, Doc, how's it going?
Good, man. How are you?
I met Dr. Arlo through TikTok. At 43, I had quadruple bypass. Ever since then, I started looking into how to stay healthy and keep my ticker going and staying healthy. And I came across Dr. Arlo and learned a lot from him. Very informative. Stuff that I learned from him that, my own cardiologist didn't even tell me at times. And I would go back to her and tell her, well, what about this, and that? And she would kind of freak out and look at me and say, well, how do you know about that? Or where'd you, of course I wouldn't tell her, but I just said, just learning and just trying to learn
TikTok.
about my health. Just TikToking it. She just laughs. Yeah. But, I wish I had the body of Andrew, but I don't. But,
He's
I
an
wish he was.
anomaly. We love that
He-
about him.
Oh,
Yeah,
and just so everyone knows, Andrew, not always looking good means your arteries are good, but Andrew also has some genetic mutation where his LDL cholesterol is like 10.
Yeah, there's like a lot of weird stuff going on. So like, I mean, but I'll
So
take it.
Andrew,
you know what I mean?
Andrew will probably live to like 110 without even trying.
yeah.
Yeah.
So pretty much that's what I've been learning, and thanks to Dr. Alo, I've been very informative, and I'm trying to stay healthy through his guidance, and I love it.
And
Learned
you've brought
so
along
much.
some of your family members too now,
I
right?
brought in my sister, my wife, everyone. Everybody's been watching Dr. Arlo. Thank God. My sister recently had some stents put in, and she's been watching your videos, and she's learning a lot from you. So she even thanks me every day, and she says, thanks to you. She's very informative, and she's been learning a lot on how to stay healthy, what to do, what not to do. So I appreciate it.
Awesome. You're welcome, man. Jennifer, do you want to go next? You're also you're in Colorado, actually. My favorite Broncos, my Denver Broncos.
Yeah, go Broncos. I'm fairly new also, just about maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks. But I had found out that my cholesterol is genetic, my high cholesterol, right? Familial, can't say the big long word. So found Dr. Alo on TikTok also, and became really invested in finding out more about how to be heart healthy and get my cholesterol lower, and just get in a place of being healthier. I've lost some weight over this last year, so that's positive, but still probably have about 40 pounds to go, I think. So trying to learn some new skills with eating as well. And it's so interesting hearing the calories, because I don't consume that many calories either. So being on the couple apps that you said to take a look at, it does say to eat more food. And yeah, that's been a struggle the last
mentally. It's really hard to get over that sometimes. Just ask Gretchen. Actually, go back and rewind and watch Gretchen's videos from before.
Well, yeah.
I mean, if you watch them, I won't have to watch them. So maybe that's
I told
what your
Gretchen
homework
once.
is.
I told Gretchen at some point in the future she needs to go back and watch all her previous videos so she can see how she's transformed just mentally. I mean, I don't, physically, obviously, but mentally, how she thinks around food and happiness and living and walking and all the things she actually enjoys now. It's pretty fascinating. But you should watch those too, Jennifer.
I'm going to.
Christina, do you want to introduce yourself? Oh, I think you're muted.
She's muted. Yeah.
I think you need to unmute.
Oh, there you go. Sorry. I've been following you for quite a while on TikTok for probably over 6 months. And you and I have had private consultations. And then you invited me to, last week was actually my first time on. I really enjoyed it. So I learned a lot, and I intend to, if I can, definitely be on. I'm in California, so it's a little earlier here. But I had my consultation with the cardiology department of Cedars today. So it was the initial.
Oh, yeah. What did they say, by the way?
Well, it was just the initial intake. It's actually cool. So it's like the second opinion thing. And I've had a 35-minute conversation with the coordinator, and today was with the NP or the nurse practitioner. And then they take everything, and then there's 4 doctors that look at it. Then they do a report, and then I get a 90-minute Zoom call with one of their physicians that I actually picked, their cardiologist that specializes in lipoprotein A and hyperlipidemia. So I will keep you guys informed what happens with that.
Excellent.
But
Keep us posted.
So far, really impressed with the program, and it's really not that expensive. Initially, they charged me $900, and I was like, okay. And then they came back and said, oh my God, we made a mistake. It's $550. And I was like, that's actually not bad considering everything. I think what they're trying to do is be out in the community, because of course I'm an hour and a half away from Cedars, but I would definitely go there again. I went there when I was younger, and I think it's more of an outreach program, so that they can get patients. So I'm okay with that, but I'll keep you guys informed.
Yeah, definitely. Why don't we go alphabetical with all the new people? Let's start with Andy. What are your healthcare goals? How'd you end up over here, and what do you hope to ask or learn as much as possible?
Well, can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay. I kind of found you through TikTok. I'm retired now. I'm 67. I follow you, like I said, through TikTok and just like to get more information about it. I'm fascinated by medical sciences anyhow, but I had a heart attack in 2014. I was 57 and I was really kind of took me by surprise. I've been
That's
working
really
out
young.
since 70s. Yeah. I've been
Did
working
you
out
ever
since
smoke at all?
70s. Yeah, I smoked for about 10 years, from about 17 to 27, about a half a pack a day. But gave that up probably 40 years
You probably
ago
should
now.
have your lipoprotein A checked. That's really
I
young
haven't
for.
checked. It's like a 5.
Oh, you've had it checked already? That's
Yeah,
incredible.
it
What
was
was
a while
your?
ago. I'm not sure if it was because of you or because of other things I discovered in my research that I would ask my doctor about. And I don't know. It was what kind of a heart attack was that? It was
Did you get stents or open heart?
yeah, I got 3 stents, one in each of the main arteries. I had 99% in one occlusion, and another was in the 90s somewheres, 98, 99, and the third one was 80. I think the left anterior descending was 80. And
that's a big
it
one.
was 3 days. It was weird because I was literally at the gym when this all happened. I felt a little bit of pain. It wasn't actually pain. It was more like a burning, like on a very cold winter day. If you would inhale the kind of burning sensation you would feel, it was exactly like that. I was at the very end of my workout. I was doing 15 to 20 minutes of like a HIIT workout on the treadmill. And I thought to myself, I'm at the end anyhow. Let's just call it a day. By the time I got to the front door, it had gone away. And then I had another pain maybe at midnight that lasted like 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And it went away. And then, see, this was on a Saturday. So, and I thought to myself, why don't I go get this checked out? I'll go to the doctor on Monday. They ran an EKG on me. I passed that. But the pain started before I got to the office. And this time it didn't stop. I'd been in the office, and between the time it started, a few minutes before I got to the office, it had been going on for like 45 minutes. So I brought that up to them, and they said it was a PA that I was talking to. And she liked the fact that I was working out, that I had a fairly decent diet. So she kind of thought it was heartburn. And so she gave me better meds for the heartburn. And right before I left the door, she turned around and said, if it doesn't get better by tomorrow morning, go to the ER. And that just stuck with me. But I had pain all the way through the night on a scale of about 1 to 10. It was maybe a 4. And even though one of the reasons I went to the doctor was to kind of take off the idea that maybe it was something serious, but the idea just never left me, even though I had seen the doctor. So I took the medication again the next morning, which by this time was Tuesday. This all started on Saturday afternoon. And so I went to the ER. It was packed, but the minute you mentioned heart pain, you get moved right to the front. They got 90 minutes to figure out anything. So they did another EKG. I passed it just fine, but they didn't like the idea that this started on a treadmill. So they did a troponin test, and I scored a 10. And they admitted me, and they put me out. And when I woke up, I said, what's the verdict? What's going on? And they said, you had a heart attack. We put in 3 stents. And it just floored me. It absolutely floored me. Now, I was adopted, so I don't know my background at all. And so I just felt that even today, when if people were to ask, it's hard for me to, when I tell them, it's hard to believe that I still had a heart attack. It's just, how did this happen? So they put me on 40 milligrams of atorvastatin. Eventually, I thought I was having some pains with it, so they kind of reduced it to 20, and it stayed that way for about 8 years, where I had another heart attack back in April of 2022, and another 3 stents.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was something. It just, and one of them was my LDL. My LDL at the first one was 153. By the time the second one rolled around, I had about a 75 to 78 LDL. And the other heart attack came, and it just floored me. And I did the same thing. I was at work. I normally take walks around the data center, which is huge. So one lap around a data center is not quite a half a mile. And I would do that about 4 times a night. And so I did about a half a lap and I felt pain. And then I let it go for a little bit. I stopped. The pain went away. I started again and the pain came back. Now, you think that somebody had already been through this, would have been bright enough to know maybe I should have called 911, but no. And this was the thing. I had been having pains in that area for years. And I said, what scares me isn't so much the pain, is that I can't tell the difference between the real deal and just regular pains in that area. That bothered me a lot. And so one of the nurses, I had gone to the doctor. She said, you need to come in here when you feel pain. I said, Doc, I feel this 40 times a year. What I'm going to do, show up? I'd run out of money before I could do that. So sure enough, this scenario played out last 2022. And 4 days before I finally woke up because of the pain. And then I called 911, and they brought me in, and I was 100% occluded. I had a clot in one artery, and the other 2 were like 90 and 80.
Were any of them like the stents that you had before? They were put back into those same arteries, or was it a different area?
No reocclusion, no reocclusion at any of the other prior ones. For 3 different ones.
Okay, so these were other areas.
Yeah, these were other areas. And what was interesting, he said, the first time he said, the doc was saying, he said, what's weird in your case is that your arteries look amazingly clean, except for these 3 areas. And said the rest of your heart looks like it's the heart of a 30-year-old. He said, but these 3 areas are just, they're bad. And he kind of likened it to like a waterfall. And that where the water falls and it kind of destroys the riverbed at the bottom. And he says, every time you see like a sharp curve in an artery, seems to be where most of this starts. And so he was trying to help me understand what was going on. And but at any rate, yeah, this was the second time, went on for 4 days like this.
Wow.
And finally had gone to the hospital. This time they didn't knock me out. I could feel everything they were doing. And he said, well, and I said, easy, doc, easy. It's, this really is starting to hurt. He says, well, I've got to make it tight. I said, yeah, I think you made it tight. But they kept me for a few days. They didn't want to do all 3 at the same time. They did 2 of them, and then they had me lay over in the hospital for another couple of days. And then on Monday, they put in the 3rd one, and then they released me the same day. So
I guess my question to you is, so your LDL has been like 155-ish pretty much your whole life. So obviously that's how the arteries got plugged up. No,
I have a chart that I had, and my LDL didn't cross over 100 until 2011. In 2014, I had the heart attack at one with roughly 153. Because I've been doing this since my 30s, and no one ever.
So what was your LDL in general? Like if you had to, like on average, like maybe in your 20s and 30s.
Well, now it's very, very small because of the drugs I take. They bumped me.
What did they have you on?
I had 20 milligrams for the last 8 years before the heart attack. I was on 20 milligrams of atorvastatin. And now
So
after
that's
the heart
kind
attack,
of a low. That's kind of a low to moderate dose statin.
What I
Usually,
was
somebody
thinking,
who's had a
yeah.
heart attack, it needs to be
well,
much
Crestor.
he
higher
had me
or
on 40.
multiple. Yeah.
Yeah, he had me on 40, but reduced it to 20 because of some of the pains. In fact, he even took me off of it for a week to see how I did, and
Did
he
the
was going to
pain
change
get better?
medications. Well, I kind of felt that it felt better. I think maybe it was in my head. I don't know what to make of that. But
Yeah, because
eventually,
some people
like I
know
said,
you're
in
so-
March,
There's some
I'm
people
sorry,
that
go
when
ahead.
you know a medication is supposed to give you a certain side effect, you start to kind of get it. So we usually have the patient stop the medicine for 2 or 3 weeks, see if it goes away, then restart it again to see if it comes back. And in a lot of cases, they'll just say, no, I guess it was just arthritis. It made no difference.
Right.
But yeah, in your scenario currently, since you've had repeat stents, repeat heart attack, your LDL needs to be under 40 basically at
Yeah.
this point.
Well, yeah. And see, this is the thing. A lot of this, I think, has changed over the years.
Oh yeah, it
I
definitely
even
has.
remember one of their
Previously, we
office
just
members
wanted you
saying,
under 70.
yeah, but they wanted me.
When you had your
it
first
was
one, they wanted you under
75 when I
70.
got a test, and they had bumped me. The doctor in the hospital in this last go around bumped me to 80 of atorvastatin and gave me some like Zetia. We had 10 milligrams of that. And so it did drop. And I didn't have any of the pains. And I was frankly, at this point, I was a little afraid of, not having anything less than that. And so
What's your LDL on the? Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's all right. I spoke to my regular cardiologist, and he was floored that I had another heart attack. It really surprised me. And he says, "Now you have me paranoid." He said, "The next time you feel pain, you're going to the ER." And I started to laugh. I'm like, "Yeah, I think I'm on point with that." I just couldn't believe that I waited another 4 days before that to happen. But at any rate, their office called me and said, "Hey, you did pretty good in your last test." It was like 75. And this is just right after the heart attack, maybe 2 months after that. And I said, "No, I don't think that's good enough." And they said, "Why?" And I said, "Because I literally had a heart attack with those same numbers."
Exactly.
So that's not low. We need to go a lot lower than that. So I eventually ended up with a PCSK9. We went with the other one, not Repatha, the
Praluent.
Yeah, Praluent. We went with that. And the numbers dropped. I'm now down to 21.
Okay, leave it there. I would never change anything.
So, and the doctor said,
So
I think you should leave it there.
If you leave it there,
you'll
you'll never have another problem. I mean, you'll die of something else. I mean, all of us will, but it won't be
That's
cardiac.
what I'm kind of hoping. But it's just amazing that no one thought about, what bothered me is that no one thought about putting me on any kind of a statin years before. The other thing that I thought was kind of interesting was that before 2011, my LDL was under 100. So whatever happened between 2011 and 2014, where it jumped to like 153. And here's the other thing. When they put me on atorvastatin during the first heart attack, the numbers afterwards dropped to about 40 from 153. And then we dropped me down to, remember I was telling you that they dropped me to 20 milligrams, most likely because of the pain. But that was the thing I don't understand, was why I got to 40 then, and now with 80, I'm only able to get to 75 or 78. So as the years go by and I get older, it seems like and I tell people, I said, it may not stay that way. Oh, my numbers dropped from 200 down to 100, or it dropped to 50. And I said, yeah, but it may not stay that way. The other thing I didn't like is the labs themselves tend to be sometimes pretty inaccurate. I want the LabCorp. The same day, I had the same test done for different doctors, and one showed like 50 and the other one showed like 85. I'm like, what is going on there that your numbers are so different on the same day? I don't understand.
Yeah, so it can fluctuate throughout the day depending on your triglyceride levels and, how fasted you are, how not fasted you are. I think overall LDL cholesterol is pretty accurate, but when you get under 70, the calculation is not that accurate. So you could, from now on, what you really need to do is just ask for an ApoB, apolipoprotein B or ApoB.
Okay.
That's going to be incredibly accurate. You don't have to be fasting, and there are targets to treat. Have you ever seen this graphic here? that I've shared. Let me see if I can. Is there a way I can pop this in the group chat? Maybe I'll do the share screen thing. Share. Okay, can you see this graphic?
Oh yeah.
So I've shared this a few times.
There it is.
Let me move some things around so I can show it better. This graphic is, let me move these things around. Hang on. This is where you want to be. So ApoB, we want it below 50, and in your case, below 40, because you've had multiple events. LDL cholesterol 70, but generally when LDL is that low, like in the 20s, the calculated LDL is not that accurate. So, one lab is going to show 20, the other might show 15, 18, 80, 55. Like, it's not super accurate when it gets that low. So I don't know if I would follow that. But your ApoB is something we can absolutely track, and you don't have to really be fasting. So in somebody who's had multiple cardiac events, in your scenario, we definitely can use ApoB as a target. And in your case, the target would be in the 40s or less, 40 or less. Let's put it that way. So you're on track. I wouldn't change anything. Praluent plus a little bit of Crestor and some Zetia, you'll probably be in the 15 to 25 range as you are, hopefully indefinitely. So you should not have any more repeat stenoses. But the reason that this has happened is in the past we didn't know how low we needed to go, and not only that, we didn't have ways to get you that low. Like before the Praluents and Repauthas and bempedoic acid and glycerins and all this stuff, we couldn't get people under 70. It was so hard, even though the guidelines said you got to be under 70. It was so hard to get people under 70 because we just didn't have ways of doing it, or they'd get too many side effects. They'd get muscle aches, muscle cramps. Once rosuvastatin came out, this is like 2001 maybe, that's when we finally could get people with very minimal side effects, if any, below 60. That Jupiter trial got people into the 55, 57 range. Those people that got that low never had a repeat event after 5 years of follow-up. And now we know even more that below 60, you're not building plaque. Most people below 57, below 60, basically, you're not building plaque. So that is now, and now we have multiple ways of doing it. So if somebody can't tolerate high-dose Crestor, we can put them on just 10 plus Zetia plus bempedoic acid plus Praluent plus Repatha plus inclisiran, whatever. We have so many different options. We could literally get your LDL cholesterol to be negative on some of these calculated LDL cholesterols.
Oh, really?
I've had patients show up as negative 10, negative 16, negative 17. It's not accurate.
Yeah,
You really can't have that number be that low. It's usually, below 20. But because the calculation at such low levels is not very accurate, that's why you end up with negative numbers. It's from the triglycerides being divided by 5 minus the HDL, and it ends up with a really weird negative number. But in your case, currently, you could either order a direct LDL or you could just order ApoB from now on. If you just get ApoB and just track that.
What about the LPA?
You could check LPA, but if you've already had it checked and it was under 5, I wouldn't worry too much. Somebody's asking questions in the chat. Don't just give me a second. We'll get to those. But yeah, definitely. Generally speaking, in your case, Andy, if you keep your LDL down below 40 or where it kind of is now in the 20s, you shouldn't have repeat stents, repeat heart attacks, repeat strokes. Obviously, you will have something else. Like a lot of people say, well, when your LDL cholesterol is that low, you're going to die. It increases mortality. Well, that's not true. But like people who are end stage cancer patients, they're super malnourished. They have no appetite, or like super end stage COPD patients, very similar scenario. They have no muscle tissue. They're very, very weak and fatigued. And they just kind of lay in bed with no muscle and no appetite. They die because they have end stage cancer, but their LDLs are super low. They didn't die because the LDL is super low. They died because of the end stage cancer. That just happens to be an incidental finding. Did you have any other questions, Andy?
No, except that, there's maybe one. And like I said, I've been a lifelong workout guy. I'm not a gym rat, but I do like to put in the time.
You should still work out. Now that you've got stents, you should still work out. Go back to doing it.
And that was the funny thing about it. The first time back in 2014, I said so much for all the workouts, huh, Doc? And he said, no, I want you to keep doing it. I'm like, well, what good did it do me? I ended up with a heart attack anyhow. He goes, no. I says, And he says, well, you want me to go back to work on that? And he goes, yeah. And he said, wait a week and then just go back to what you were doing. Start off a little bit slower. And I have to admit, I kind of felt like I needed to be really careful because after having a heart attack, you're like, I don't want to just, resume it at the levels I was at. So I started a little bit lower and, I was checking myself like every few minutes.
Yeah, take your time. Did you do the cardiac rehab after the stents?
Well, the first one, no, we didn't. He said, I don't think you need to bother with the cardiac rehab. The first one, the second one I did. And that's when they were basically saying, they were mentioning beats per minute of being like about 110 for me at the time. And I said, why low? I says, when I used to do a hit, I would regularly hit about 150. Now, this is a few years ago, and they said, no, really, that's not as important as how much time you're doing it. We want you to be able to do it for at least 45 minutes. So, if you can keep your heart rate up to 150, fine, but most people wouldn't be able to do that. So started about 110. And so now I'm probably about 120, something like that. And I'm usually on a treadmill and I keep it at about a 7% incline. And I hit it. I probably do about 3.8 miles an hour. I've never been a runner. I've always hated running, but I do it because I need to do it. And then after that, I do about 45 minutes to an hour, usually of a weight workout. So
no, that's fantastic. Definitely keep doing what you're doing. You don't work out because you're being told to work out. Work out because you enjoy it or you like the process. I wouldn't obsess too much with the numbers. Yeah, so do the weights and then just do some cardio here and there. You don't have to go crazy. Obviously, the American Heart Association recommends 150 minutes of low to moderate intensity workouts or 75 minutes of like more intense cardio. But definitely do that. Stick with it. Just keep at it. With your LDL now being in the...
That was my only question, by the way.
What was it?
That. Do I do the aerobic part of it first and then go to the anaerobic or?
It sort of depends on your goals. Do you want to build muscle more so? Or do you want to just be more
obviously
fit?
At this point in my life, the health part of it has to come first. But I don't mind if I build a little muscle and I look a little healthier. That's always kind of nice. So
yeah, and it's not going to affect the cardio or the cardiac benefits. So yeah, then definitely lift weights first. Build your muscle and then do a little cardio at the end. That should work.
Okay. Yeah, I was doing kind of reverse, but I'll try it that way. So.
I mean, and it's probably like we're just splitting hairs here. But if you want to do it the other way around, it's totally fine too. I don't think that in your scenario, you're not trying to be a bodybuilder and get on stage and have gigantic muscles. Yeah. I don't think it really is going to make a difference as long as you do a little bit of both. Don't build muscle and do cardio. You'll be absolutely fine.
Yeah, I'm hoping that'll all work. Like I said, when I had the second heart attack, I overhauled my workout routine. Added, at that point, I was only doing maybe 15, 20 minutes of a HIIT routine with the treadmill. But after that, I decided to make it 45 minutes. So I do just under 3 miles a day, get that done. And then I start with the weights and I do that depending upon what day the week is. So
excellent.
Sunday, I do like a half a workout. I only do like 125-minute routine with the treadmill. And that's the only thing I do. Saturdays is like my day off. I don't do anything. Maybe sneak over to Popeyes or something. I think I always bust you on that. I know how to get Dr. Allo interested in something. Just lay out a track of Popeyes chicken. But
we don't have Popeyes here, so I'm not sure.
Oh, you don't have Popeyes? No. But yeah,
and I generally don't eat fried chicken. Just depends.
Yeah, I try not to do too much of that. I usually have one cheat day, but oddly enough, it's not really about how many calories I'll jam into my mouth. It's more about just picking a favorite food and just eating.
I want people to eat what they enjoy, just within a calorie limit. You're not going to gain weight and you'll be fine. Now, should you always be eating fried food? Probably not, because it does raise your cholesterol, just the amount of fat that's in there. So sorry, we've had a few more of our community members jump on. I sent out a link. Sorry, I thought I emailed everybody the new link for tonight. We made tonight's meeting much longer with a different link, so it doesn't mix with the other one. But maybe we'll go through and introduce everybody. Then we'll get to everyone who's new. Rick, you are like one of the originals. I know Martin already introduced himself. Do you want to give us a brief introduction to your story, how you found us, what you hope to get out of the community, what you've gotten out of it so far? You've been here almost a year.
Yeah, absolutely. I stumbled upon Dr. Arlo on TikTok one evening, and I said, hey, I like this guy. I think he knows what he's talking about. So I started to follow him for a few months, and one thing led to another. I joined a community where it's just a lot of people just like myself wanting to have a better cardiovascular health. And I've made some really close friends in here with Gretchen and Martin, Dr. Arlo, Andrew. I can't remember everybody, but I've done pretty good on my weight. I have multiple sclerosis, so my exercise is somewhat limited. But at my heaviest, I was 240. Now I'm down to 198, and I've been able to maintain that. And using a lot of the recipes out of the Heart to Heart cookbook.
Excellent. And then Sarah, do you want to give a brief introduction as well?
Sure.
Also from Chicagoland.
Yeah, that's right. Right here in the middle of the city. I actually started my health journey more looking at my risk of Alzheimer's, which is pretty high because of my genetics and family history. But quickly learned that a healthy heart is a healthy brain. So I was watching how my numbers were doing, and then all of a sudden my ApoB went through the roof. And I figured I better look more deeply into it, and came across, I think, Dr. Ello, first saw you either TikTok or Instagram, or actually, you know what? It was YouTube. And just started listening to you and putting things into practice, and eventually joined the community. I've been at like 2 or 3 months now.
Yeah,
and like it's been great to have these calls to get not only my personal questions asked, but then other people ask questions that I learned from and things I never thought about before. So that's it. And I mean, even just this past week, I did a stress test, and you were kind enough to take a look at it and tell me that it looked good. So, just.
Yeah, your stress test was fantastic, by the way.
I was so nervous going into it.
Andrew
like,
probably can't last that long.
Heartbeat? What?
Andrew probably can't beat you on the treadmill.
Yeah.
Well, they said, how you doing? I said, I feel like I'm hanging off the side of a building, but I'm doing okay because, the elevation just kept going up and up and up. But yeah, that was a relief that went well. And I'll ask questions later, but I'm finally getting my cardiology appointment tomorrow morning. So got to find out exactly what I need to be asking before this session is over. But awesome. It's been a great blessing to be here.
And then Jason, do you want to introduce yourself briefly as well?
Sure. I just started about 2 weeks ago here, so haven't been around as long as the other people. However, I did find Dr. Allo on TikTok, and I remember one of the first comments I wrote. I was asking about a supplement called nattokinase, and all he responded back was useless. So that's when I was like, okay, who's Dr. Allo? Let me look more into what he's talking about, what angle he's coming from. And everything I found just seemed like straightforward and not trying to sell people anything. And that's so different than so many people on TikTok that I found it quite refreshing. You're very informative.
Well, I try to be, and I'm sorry I was so brief with the answer, but there's like thousands of comments sometimes, and
right, yep.
If one person asks about nattokinase or strepto whatever freaking can or some other weird thing, if you just give an answer, people search through other stuff and find it, and hopefully see my previous post or no use or no benefit, no studies, whatever. But I try my best to answer all of them, but it's getting really hard.
No, not a problem at all.
Hey, didn't you pose a question, Jason? Didn't I see you post a question about
recently?
Yeah, was that you that asked about the calcium?
in the community app. Oh yeah, that's another thing. Like you guys get an app, you can post in the app all the time, and we answer each other's questions, post funny videos. Gretchen posts her progresses and updates and, walking steps?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I'm glad you guys like to interact
I posted
with that.
Actually,
Go
I
ahead,
think
Gretchen.
that's a really good question.
Yeah,
I think
fire away. I could pull it up. What was it under? I got it loaded.
So are you talking about my LDL?
Yeah, I'm talking about where you posted your LDL and you said, should I
Right.
get a cardiac calcium score? And a lot of people ask me the same. So I'd be interested to hear what he has to say about that.
So what was
Yeah.
your LDL again?
So I posted a history, all the history I could find in my LDL.
Oh, that's right. All those numbers where you had like 2018 and 2022 were kind of anomalies.
Yeah.
One
So
was
the
super
last couple
high and
years-
one was much lower.
The last couple of years has been lower because I got on a statin, and then I got off the statin and went on ezetimibe. So the last like 3 years, it's been better. But before that, it was like
You were
15
77
years.
at one point.
That was when I was on
What?
the statin.
Yeah.
So before that, it was about 15 years at least, and that's all the records I have about it in the 140s. So my question was, with a history of constant LDL in that range my whole life, or most of my adult life, should I be looking into or would that indicate in cardiac MRI or CT to check for plaque or calcium buildup?
So if you can get on a treadmill and run around or exercise, you don't really need any further testing. The problem with calcium scores, and I always show people this model. Hang on, let me grab it. So we'll do some show and tell. So over here is what a normal artery looks like. As plaque builds up, it slowly starts to build up in the wall. You notice you can still drive a truck through here until the very end where we get the late stage. That's where it becomes kind of like you can't get through there anymore. So all of this here is plaque buildup over time. If you don't feel chest pains because it's still wide open, this stage here in the late stage is where you start to build up calcium. The problem is calcium is like really late stage atherosclerosis. It's almost kind of useless. You don't want to wait till you have calcium. Like all these people are like, I'm not taking a statin until I get a calcium score that's abnormal. Well, that's like telling a smoker to continue smoking until they finally have lung cancer. Like, oh, you have lung cancer on your CT scan. We can stop smoking now. Like, that's literally insane. So you definitely don't want to do that. But generally, I don't think you should do a calcium score. If you are having like chest pain like symptoms or something, you should actually get a stress test, because that actually tells us it's a functional test where you're actually exerting yourself and we're seeing if that narrowing in your artery is enough to be causing symptoms. What you really should do with your LDL being so high for so long is I would stay on the Zetia, but take like a low dose Crestor with it. Exactly. You'll drop your LDL like another like 55, 60% from what it would normally be, maybe more. Some people hyper respond. You could drop your numbers. I would honestly, if I was you, I would want to be in the 40s or 50s. It's not like any guidelines. It's not any, risk calculator is going to tell you that. No cardiologist will tell you that. But if you've been that high for so long and you want your plaque to regress or stabilize, you probably want to be under 55, to be honest with you. Mine got, I'm about where your numbers were. I got into the 41 to 44 range with just Crestor and Zetia, without injections, without anything.
So that's where it becomes a problem when you said your cardiologist probably won't recommend that to get your numbers that low, because my PCP saw 75 on my last test and they think it's fine. And I asked them about us adding a low dose statin, and they said it's not necessary. So,
well, what you could do
there's no way for me to get prescribed that statin.
You can go see a cardiologist and say, hey, listen, I used to live in New York. I was on Crestor and Zetia. When I came here, my family doctor doesn't believe in both. I have a really, really horrible family history. My doctors previously told me I need my LDL in the 50s. I don't know. They did some genetic crazy testing on me, and they told me I need to be like in the 40s and 50s. And they'll do it. No one cares. I mean, they're so, like corporate doctors, especially, they have to see like 1 million patients a day. They don't have time. They're like, oh God, this guy knows exactly what he wants. He's perfectly healthy. Here's your 20 Crestor and your Zetia. See you later. Thank God I don't have to like spend 3 hours talking to this one. Like, I'm not trying to be mean, but unfortunately corporate medicine has turned into like a revolving door of just get people in and out. And I'm not bad mouthing doctors, but when they see a guy like you or that looks semi-healthy, it's like the easy patient of the day. They're just like, oh, thank God, an easy one. Instead of like the 60-year-old that's had 15 stents and diabetic and foot amputations and all that you have to actually spend a lot of time to optimize. Like, oh, this guy already knows what he wants. Somebody else did the workup. They already did the testing. Perfect. Here's your 20 at Crestor. We'll see you later. I mean, you could use that strategy. I'm not saying to lie to people or be deceptive, but
that's what I'm hoping for, to just ask and receive, I guess.
So
thank you.
I have a comment about the calcium score. So a lot of people out there are going to their PCPs, and I had an LDL of 109 and I had a high HDL, and he was saying, oh, your ratios, which we now know doesn't count. Everything is great. You'll live forever. And I did 2 calcium scores. My first one was a 0. My second one at 4.5 years later was 50. And that told him to put me on a statin. So obviously I kind of got screwed because I wasn't put on a statin soon enough. But for a lot of people out there that don't have access to super advanced cardiology,
but a calcium score, almost anybody can order. But in your case, you also had a lipoprotein A that was elevated, which explains that. A LDL of 109, you're definitely building plaque, but it would take forever to be a problem. I mean, maybe not, and some people not, but you had a lipoprotein A that was also elevated, and that's probably what happened there. Maybe they saw that too, or maybe they didn't. I don't know, but definitely a calcium score going from almost nothing to 50 is a problem in and of itself.
Yeah, no, they didn't because I got the lipoprotein A tested in March because of you. And I got I paid for the calcium score, 10 years ago, and then a couple of years ago. And then when I got to 50, then they were like, oh, then I went to a real cardiologist, not a PCP, and she put me on a statin. And then I saw you and you talked about lipoprotein A, and then I got that tested. So for a lot of people, if you can afford it, I think
it's super cheap. I think it's only like $100 if you just walk into one of these heart scan places and you can get it yourself.
Yeah, that's all it was. Yeah. And that was sort of, it was the impetus for them to go, oh no, I need a statin. So I'm going to respectfully disagree a little bit.
Yeah, he could do that.
Absolutely.
A lot of He's getting his weightlifting gloves on. He's about to deadlift. Jason, you got your weightlifting gloves on? You going to do some deadlifts or something? What are you wrapping with your wrist there? You're muted, by the way.
I was doing incline flies.
Oh, all right. Well, close enough.
No deadlifting.
Christine,
we're cheering for you. You have to get your workout in at the same time. I get it. It's fine.
No,
it's
you
fine.
can do that.
I always work out at night.
Yeah, that's fine. Me too. But Christina's making a good point. She said maybe if you do get one of those calcium scores and they see it's abnormal, they're more likely to put you on something. But either way, you could use that, but the problem is it might not be abnormal. But if it is, obviously they'd be more willing to do something, or just use that strategy where you say, listen, I just moved here. I used to be on this, and that. And, they might just do it.
I mean, my husband's LDL is 286 and he has a 0 on his calcium score, and his PCP says that's just fine as long as he doesn't have anything on his calcium score. So, I try to do him, but he doesn't listen. And,
does he have a good insurance policy?
Well, a lot of the doctors avoid the CT angios because of the radiation and the kidneys from the IV contrast, and they like the calcium scores because they're cheap. They're only $70, and it takes.
It is a lot less radiation too, and you don't need an IV. You don't need to be fasting. You don't need anything.
That's why I wanted a cardiac MRI.
That you could do, but I don't know. I mean, yeah, you could do that. I mean, I don't know how. I mean, we read all
CMRI is going to show the function. It's not going to show plaque.
It's not going to show. Yeah, I mean, you could, with a gadolinium. It just depends. You could show the arteries, but yeah, I don't know. Well, Jason, a CT calcium you could do it, but honestly, I don't recommend it. Like, I don't think it's needed, but definitely, I would definitely want the LDL much lower in your scenario.
I guess that's my ultimate goal, is to just see if I can get them to put me on a statin and get my number lower.
What statin were you on before?
Atorvastatin.
When it was 77. Do you remember
So-
when that 1 year it was 77?
I was on a torvastatin for about a year and a half, and it was great, except the last few months I started to get muscle cramps out of nowhere. So that's why they switched me to ezetimibe.
Okay, so just add like
Zetia.
Crestor 10 or 20, and I'm sure your numbers will be like 40 or 50.
Jason, you could go to Ageless RX and you could request that you want a torvastatin, and literally some nurse practitioner will have you ask a 3-question questionnaire and you'll have it mailed to your door. It's a true story.
Ageless RX, it's called.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I have a doctor's appointment on Friday.
All right.
If I don't get anywhere with them, I will look that up for sure.
It's a true story. I mean, yeah.
Appreciate that.
I'm not saying I recommend it, but like, I mean, it can be done. So.
All right, let's go to Dennis. Dennis is new. What's your ultimate health goal, Dennis? First of all, how did you find out we were doing this? Was it just one of the posts or something?
TikTok. Found you through TikTok. So I guess the algorithm worked. The algorithm knew I had heart issues. On them for spying on me, but they got it right.
It is the best algorithm of all the apps, if you ask me.
So had AFib. I had an ablation about 2.5 years ago. I've been in rhythm since then, just hoping to stay in rhythm and do whatever I can to make sure that happens, and then lose weight. So bunch of yo-yo diets before, up, down, up, down, up, down.
What's the most amount of weight you've lost?
80 pounds.
Doing what?
Reduced calorie reduction, and then I was doing HIIT workouts, so Orange Theory.
And why did the weight come back?
Got discouraged when I had AFib. So before
discouraged how?
Discouraged with, geez, I am in the best shape of my life, and I have AFib. And now I got to be careful. I got to take blood thinners, which, didn't want to do. Got off those, had an ablation, did my research on that. They said, best thing to do, just get the ablation done as soon as possible. And have been thankful that I've done that. So, but I've been in the yo-yo since then, and just need to get into something to get down again. Of the 80, I gained back about 40. And need to get
so you're still down 40, bright side, looking at the silver lining, which is really good. So AFib does improve with weight loss. And one of the main causes of AFib is having long-standing uncontrolled hypertension or, sleep apnea. And weight loss generally helps both conditions. The longer you've been in AFib, the less likely you are to get out of it. But if you had an ablation, that's a good sign. It can still come back. I'm sure they told you that much. But it's obviously less likely with an ablation, and less likely if you still lose the weight and do all the other things that are helpful to that. So I definitely recommend doing those things. Are you trying to lose weight now? I mean, obviously almost everyone could say yes.
Yeah, yes, definitely.
What is your goal? What is your strategy?
Strategy to maintain, it's the high intensity workouts 3 or 4 times a week, walking on the off nights or off days, and then trying to reduce calories.
How are you trying to reduce calories? All of those things are wonderful, but definitely reducing the calories is going to be the most impactful.
Where I've had success with when I lost the 80, it was a low carb approach to diet.
Have you tried
cutting processed carbs?
Have you tried cutting calories without removing an entire food group?
Not successfully.
But do you like carbs?
Oh, I love carbs. Carbs are my friend.
So I think that's an issue.
Rice is good.
So it's going to be really hard to stick to this long term. You're just going to yo-yo for the rest of your life. Like I have a lot of patients that just lose and gain the same 30 pounds for 30 years. So that's probably not an optimal strategy in your situation. I would recommend downloading the Carbon app.
Yeah.
The Carbon Diet Coach. Gretchen has used that.
Is Vince here? Because Vince downloaded it this week.
Vince.
I love it. I love it.
Okay, good.
Because I was apprehensive in the beginning. We're great friends now. And I even reach out to support whenever I have issues. And we've been messaging on the app.
Oh, okay. You guys are in the app. Gotcha.
And I said, really, go with Carbon. I go, because when you told me to download it, I did. And we've been having a great relationship since, unless they increase my calories, because
yeah, it's increased your calories quite a bit.
but honestly, it gets to know your body very quickly, and it tells you what you need. And honestly, you're not restricting yourself if you're sticking to a calorie reduction, a deficit in any kind. You can eat whatever you want, and you don't have to take out a food group, because you're not going to be successful if you're depriving yourself. I mean, I wouldn't have stuck to this I'm at 19 months now. I wouldn't be successful if I was cutting out a single food group. I mean, that's how I'm looking at it.
It depends on the person. Some people, they don't like certain food groups and they cut them out. No big deal. But in Dennis's case, he loves rice. Cutting out carbs is not a good strategy if you love rice. Some people love ice cream. That's not a good strategy if you love ice cream either. So if you love ice cream or carbs or, whatever it might be, which people do, or some people like pasta, I don't know. But cutting that out completely is going to be really, really hard to lose weight. But definitely if you restrict it, like let's say you like ice cream. All right, you got 200 calories left at the end of the day. Half a scoop of ice cream or a couple of spoons of even protein ice cream, whatever. There's all kinds of fancy stuff now. Is not going to hurt you, and it satisfies that craving. Now, obviously, it is sometimes harder with certain food groups that are more hyper palatable and taste good to just limit yourself. But if you have a calorie limit in an app and it's telling you only have 250 calories left, you could either have like one chicken breast, some rice with some sauce on it, maybe a small salad with some dressing, or a scoop
you could
or two
make
of
a
ice
dip
cream.
out of Faya yogurt. You can make it sweet, savory, and even if you eat it with vegetables, you're not really hitting any calories there. Even if you added an apple, 80 calories, you're satisfied even more, and you barely have 150 calories. And you pretty much, that's how I always have calories left over, because the foods I choose are satisfying and they're low calorie. So, I mean, that's my problem. I need to find fattier food or higher calorie foods. And unfortunately, they're not my favorite. But, Andrew?
No, let me demystify this here for what we're talking about the Carbon app. So what's really unique about the Carbon app, and I don't work for it anyway.
Aren't you big pharma? Aren't you big carbon?
Yeah, right. Yeah. The Carbon app uses AI integration to find the exact amount of calories that you need in order to gain weight, lose weight, whatever your goal is. Now, what happens is once it finds out how many calories you need, it puts it all into a bank. Look at it like your bank account. Okay. Now, each day, in order to reach your goals, you have to be within the limits of your bank account. In this case, it would be your metabolic bank account, your carbs, your proteins, and your fats. Now, as long as you stay within those limitations, you can have the rice, okay, as long as you don't go over that amount. Then rinse, wash, and repeat the next day. And over the course of after each week, you have a goal. You should be dropping about a pound and a half a week, whatever you program the Carbon app to do. So that's why I find it very effective. Even me, I've been doing this stuff for a long time, and I know how to do it manually, but this saves the time for me. I just punch in the numbers, bump, done. So, but for somebody who's not as experienced, I think this is a really effective tool to keep you grounded.
No, I agree. And for those of you who don't know how to use it, it is an app where you track you put in your age, weight, height, and sex, your goal, your goal weight. If you want to gain weight or lose weight, like you can tell I want a reverse diet, which means like gain weight, like you want to build muscle. You can maintain. You can say, hey, listen, I like my weight. I just want to maintain. Or you could say, I want to lose weight. And then you tell it what diet you prefer. You could pick lower carb, more keto, more balanced, more Mediterranean. You can choose whatever kind of diet you enjoy. And then you put in your weight every day. Once a week, you check in with the coach.
Yeah.
And the coach, it looks at your weight gain or loss, your trends, plus the calories you've eaten, how much protein, carbs, fat, whatever. And that says, okay, looks like you're doing a good job. Just stick with what you're doing. Or you're not doing so okay. We're going to increase your protein a little, cut your total calories a little, and whatever, So it adapts to you. If 1 week, if you're losing weight too fast, it increases your calories. If you're losing weight too slow, it cuts them. If you want to maintain it, helps you maintain. So it does a really fantastic job overall of knowing kind of how to do these things. So I like it a lot. I think it's a great app in that like coaching aspect / AI. So definitely, try doing that. And we're always here. Like if you are in the community, literally like every week, we're talking about this stuff, on and on and on. Gretchen can attest to that. You can go back and watch all her videos from almost a year ago and
Torture.
See what happens when you lose 145 pounds in about, a year and a half, whatever it was.
I look up from last May, it's 115 pounds. So I still don't understand how I've done that. But I'm very proud, and that's success that I can say that now, because I couldn't have said that 6 months ago. So thank you.
No, good job, Gretchen. Vincent, do you want to introduce yourself?
Awesome.
Sorry, your head was behind my camera on here, but now I can see you. I totally missed you.
It's all right. It's Vince. I'm 63. In my late 40s, I had a calcium score of 550. So that knocked me down a few pegs, and I got very nervous. It's currently 2,200, which I understand is pretty normal for aging and being on statins.
It shouldn't. It shouldn't. Were you put on a statin right away when you were 500?
I've been on statins forever.
So it shouldn't. Oh, so you've been on statins even before the 500?
Yeah. Actually, I think I was put on statins, and I said, do I really need this? And the doctor said, why don't you go have this calcium score done? And so I think I was on it for a bit before.
So statins generally will increase your calcium score a little bit, but not from 500 to 200. Like it might go to 600 or 700. The problem with the calcium scanners is the technology is a lot different now, and you can't compare scanner to scanner almost. There's a lot of scatter artifact too, and they really need to, compare them like equally with different kinds of scanners. So I don't know, but it definitely has gone up, and it looks like it's gone up quite a bit. That part we really can't disagree with, but I don't know that would all be the statin. Do you know what your LDL is now on statin?
Yeah, it's 46.
Okay, so that's
all
good.
right. So I feel I'm overweight. I was 225 a week ago, but with Gretchen's help and Carbon, I've lost 7 pounds this week. Now it said 1.7 is my goal, but I followed everything it did. In fact, tonight
you'll be eating more next week.
Yeah,
just wait.
For Dennis, I love pasta and rice and potatoes, and in my prior diets, I've cut those out, and I love the fact that I've put them back in. But like tonight, I had a little bit of rice, and then I looked at the calculator, and it said I had 135 calories left, and they were mainly carbs, and so I had a little more rice. But I'm wanting to work out, lift weights, and exercise, and I felt like I had some muscle pain. So I asked the cardiologist last time I saw him, can we lower the rovastatin from 20 to 10? I'm also on Zydia. And he said, okay, if you think that it's causing the muscle pain. So my LDL has been in the 20s, and it's now, 2 weeks ago, it was 46. So from what I'm hearing, I'm thinking, you know what? First of all, my muscle aches didn't change. I think I'm just arthritic and I'm getting older. So I'm thinking.
But weight loss will help that too. Don't forget.
So I'm mainly here for the weight loss, and I have some, things, weightlifting questions and things. And so that's why I'm here. Obviously, I have heart disease. So my history is from when I learned I had that calcium score, I got on books and YouTube. I don't have TikTok, but YouTube. I became a low-fat, plant-based vegan for, 5 years because of Esselstyn. And I'm in Cleveland, and his grandkids go to school with my kids. And then I gained weight and my triglycerides went high, and I probably had too much beans and pasta instead of having protein. And then I went to the other extreme and, went to keto and the South Beach diet because the guy invented the calcium score and he's a cardiologist. And so I've watched all these doctors on YouTube. A lot of them are cardiologists, and they're saying all different things. And the main thing is, once a year, I see my cardiologist, and he always tells me, you don't need to eat vegan. You don't need to be keto. Just eat a Mediterranean diet, and we got to drive your LDL low. And then I saw Dr. Allo, and he's the only one that says the same thing that my cardiologist does. So I've decided I'm going to try to figure out how to get those other folks off of the YouTube algorithm and just stick with. And I've learned a lot. The protein. So this week, I've never had this much protein. I've hit about 150, 160 grams of protein a day.
That's really good. That actually helps weight loss and satiety, and you preserve muscle mass more, even if you're not working out. But obviously, works better if you're working out. And
I've been lifting. So
good. That's even better.
I don't know. It's only been a week, but Gretchen, thanks for the advice on the Carbon app, because I really I had my Fitness Pal, but I didn't always put everything in. So I think one of the things you said in the first post I made was, are you tracking your calories? We need a baseline. And I'm like, well, I'll track breakfast and lunch, and then I'll end up at a business dinner, or I'll be out with friends and have stuff I shouldn't have, and I don't put it in the calculator. So this week I've put everything in, and I've lost weight every day. And so we'll see if I can keep that going.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, like Gretchen said, the app is going to increase your calories.
Yeah, it's at 1.7 a week. So anyway.
Yeah, no, it's definitely going to increase it. It doesn't like super fast weight loss, but no, I mean, it's fine. But no, so Gretchen has her own coaching program through our apps. That's awesome.
I have a question.
Hey, if anybody knows how to lose human beings, Gretchen would be that person.
Thanks a lot. I do like that.
Let's talk to Susan. Susan's on video. We'll go to Susan next. Unmute, because I think you're muted. Yeah, I think you're still muted.
Is that better?
We can hear you now. Okay, there we go.
All right. Hi. Nice to meet you. I didn't meet Dr. Allo. I saw you on TikTok, and I've been following you pretty faithfully ever since. And you've even answered a few questions of mine. I don't have a huge history as far as LDL and cholesterol. I think it's always been fairly low. If I look at my whatever you want to call it, my labs. But you have mentioned that they've changed all those standards now, and they're under 70. And so as I've hit menopause, that's my question. As I hit menopause, my LDL jumped up a little bit. And initially with the old, whatever you want to call them, the old metrics, it was like 129 was the top. Mine popped in of just like 133. And then I waited 6 months, and then it rose a little bit more, just a couple points. And then I waited a year. And my primary, who just retired, said, because I'm her healthiest patient, no, everything else is in check. I don't need any statin, even though I asked for it.
What's your current LDL?
So right now, when I did my last lab, which was last August, it came in at 143. And it hit 137. It was 130, just over. And so it popped up a little bit each time. And so now it's 143. And I asked her when she sent me back the thing, whatever that aardvark score is, or I don't even know what the numbers are, but, take this, that, this, and that, and get a number. And she said, you don't qualify. But in my head, I'm like, and this was before I saw any of your TikToks, I said, in my head, I felt like, what am I waiting? Like, am I going to wait till I'm at decon red? And then you're going to say, oh, well, we've started the statin. I don't get it. So my husband, who takes rovastatin, who he's never had a heart attack or anything. He's just got all the red light singles. So he's got more medication than anybody. and he takes rovastatin. So now his is under 70 or 73, which I know it's got to be lower, but I'm going to take one of his rovastatins. I'm going to cut it in 4, and I'm going to take it 4 times a week.
No, you don't need to do that. I think you just need to see a new doctor. 143 is unacceptable. That's insanely high. I mean, like Andrew started coughing. He almost choked on his own. He almost aspirated on his own saliva when he heard 145 or whatever it was.
The good news is it has not been up there because I've always watched that. So I'm one of those people in the 80s when all that heart attack shit was getting onto the TV, and it was like the 1990s. I just had my first kid in 1989. And I went to my physical, and my cholesterol was slightly high. You couldn't get a piece of fat down my throat if you tied me down and get it there. And my cholesterol went down to 133 over a year. My whole total cholesterol, my LDLs must have been very low, just because I did that 8-week cholesterol cure book. Oh, well, out of date now. But high carb, low everything else, and it went down 100 points over a year. And my husband's went down just from us doing that. And then I never watched it again because it always stayed low until as I get old now. So here I am. And so she retired. There's a new doctor there. I don't know if he will give me a statin.
You should just tell your new doctor that you used to be on rosuvastatin 20 and your numbers are super high. Your cardiologist told you should be back on, and if they don't do it, then your cardiologist.
These doctors are like acting like a statin's like a controlled substance.
I know, it's like gatekeeping.
I mean, she's not asking for hydrocodone. I mean,
that's what I'm
seriously. Like it's like, can I have some crack?
Yeah,
most people don't ask to be put on a statin. I'm like, but I did reduce some studies, and I reached out to you asking about what you thought about the low dose. And then you posted about somebody the other day that said they were 147 and they took it like not daily. One question is, because I'm going to be a thief to my husband's rovastatin, is rovastatin calcium and rovastatin the same thing?
It's the same. It's just the salt of the chemical. It's the same thing. They're all the same. It might not say it on the bottle, but it's rosuvastatin calcium. It's the same thing.
That's what this says.
They're all that. All of them are that.
And it's not like the issue is they don't want to do a prior auth, because there is no prior auth.
There's not. It's generic.
I don't see what's the big deal. Yeah.
It's super generic. And even like the lowest dose rosuvastatin, which is 5 milligrams, knocks most people's cholesterol down 35%. So sometimes more, but generally 35%.
So do you have an HMO?
Me?
Yeah.
An HMO, I don't know what I have. Yeah, no, I don't think it's an HMO, but
do you have to get pre-authorization from a specialist, or do you have like Blue Cross? You can go to anybody.
Oh, I think I can just go.
Where do you live, Susan?
I'm in Massachusetts. So it's not like I'm going to Joe Schmo's clinic. I mean, I go to Beth Israel. It's not like it's a, so, I mean, it's a well-renowned hospital. I see the cardiologist, and my cardiologist even said, when it first popped up, she said, well, just talk to your primary and try it with diet and exercise. So I told her I've been eating
I mean, that's not going to work. You're not going to diet and exercise your cholesterol down to 50. That's just not possible. Like, I don't understand the logic there.
Correct.
I mean, if you were like eating sticks of butter like 5 times a day, sure, you could really lower your cholesterol with a diet change, but you're not. You're eating about what a normal healthy person would eat. So that's not going to really go down.
Well, and the primary too, and I'm kind of glad she retired. I think she's getting a little old. She said, because you are in menopause, it's going to continue to go up. And I'm like, I looked at her like, okay,
no kidding.
If you see that, then why would you not help me? I didn't get it. So,
yeah, that's wild.
It's new doctor time.
Yeah, new doctor, like maybe a lipidologist even.
There's a new one there. I see him in August, but I don't want to wait till August to start a statin. I don't know where it is now. This has been since last August. It could be higher. It could be lower. I don't know.
I mean, you could are you seeing a cardiologist soon?
Now get this, and she's a Beth Israel too. Kills me. Evidently I'm a good patient. She said, I don't need to see you anymore. The reason I saw her was because I had palpitations, and every time I go, I'm not a high risk. I've done the echoes. I've done the monitors. I've done everything. It's nothing to worry about. And I've had it since my last pregnancy. I was 32, so over 30 years.
30 years ago, your cholesterol was good, so we just need to ignore you. But you know what? I will tell you guys, the medical system historically has always ignored women. Like, they always Just like, you're fine. Because women didn't have heart attacks as often as men. And they're just like, whatever, your LDL's fine. Like they just ignore women, don't treat them, don't put them in studies, and just literally ignore them. And I'm not saying this like in a mean way or in a bad way. I don't think they do it on purpose. I feel like it's just sort of built into the system. Like, well, she's a female.
Doc, speaking of that, real quick, sidebar, the Clear Outcomes trial was mostly women. Done. All right.
Good.
What did you say? I missed that.
There's this trial called the Clear Outcomes trial for
I didn't want to get into it, but I'll dive into it real quick. The Clear Outcomes trial, which was for bempedoic acid, which is a statin alternative. You don't need it. You don't need it. You just need a statin. The point being is there was 14,000 patients and most of them were women. And so that was to his point, women have been neglected. So my company doesn't neglect women.
But in the 90s, they now, since the 90s, I forgot what year, they require that all studies include a proportionate amount of men and women, minorities, et cetera, because generally minorities, women have not been in studies as much as obviously white men, which, they're more likely to enroll in studies, but they're not allowing them to do studies like that anymore. So that has changed.
They also excluded women because our hormones messed up a lot of the tests. And even
the results, you mean? Yeah, it would skew the results for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Even the mice were all males. So, I have a big issue with
the Jupiter trial was the first statin trial where they had equal amounts of women and showed a more reduction in women in cardiovascular events than men. Men had a 44% total endpoint reduction. Women had a 46%. So I think that was after the 90s. So they had to. That's after the rules changed, which is good. So somebody did ask a question in the chat. I don't know if he's still on here. It was a Muhammad something. Well, he's gone. I don't see him on here anymore. Well, is anybody that's on here that is not on video have a question or a comment? You can either come on video or just ask with audio. It's fine. And if you guys don't mind, this was going to be the 300th episode of the podcast, as you all suggested. That was brilliant. I forgot who said that. Was it Jennifer, maybe? Someone suggested that we make this the 300th episode of the podcast. So if you guys don't mind, do you mind me putting this on YouTube, or you just want the audio on the podcast?
I don't mind.
I don't mind.
Get a royalty.
What's that? I would need everyone's consent because your names are on the video.
Get a royalty or at least some free.
Get a loyalty. I don't get paid by YouTube at all. I wish I did, but I'll send you a check.
I don't know because I mentioned the Clear Outcomes trial, and I might not be.
I could easily clip that out.
Yeah, edit that out if you if you don't mind. Yeah.
What is that? What is the problem with that? Is it because you're not allowed to talk about it yet?
No, we are, but just this forum maybe is, it's just, well, I don't think I said anything.
You didn't state anything that was not in the trial. You're allowed to talk about the trial itself, which all you said was there's women in it. There's
fair enough. All right, fair enough. Yeah, fair enough.
I don't think that's speaking out of. See, this is how regulated the industry is. You guys are like, big pharma. No, this is how regulated it is. He can't even say a word that he's not allowed to say. A lot of times the farm reps, you ask them a question, they're like, can't really comment on that, but you're welcome to look up the study on your own. Kayla's on here. Let's see what Kayla had. Did you have a question, Kayla?
Yeah. I'm new. I found Dr. Allo on TikTok, probably from one of his throwdowns of the wellness way. And I was like, follow. So, no, and I kind of joined, just for information, like I have a lot of weight that I need to lose. And lately, over the last probably couple of months, I've had like a really huge increase of like heart palpitations. And I do have a physical with my doctor tomorrow, so I'm going to talk to her as well. But are there like any questions I need to ask her, like specifically to check into? What happens with your
palpitations? Tell me about your palpitations. What exactly happens?
Just all of a sudden, I'll just be like sitting, and even sometimes it wakes me up out of my sleep, and I just feel like my heart's not racing, but it's just pounding so that I feel it. And I can't think of anything that would like lead up to it. It just happens sporadically.
So you'll just be sitting there. Do you feel it like suddenly come on or just slowly ramp up?
Probably slowly ramp up.
are you anxious or nervous about anything?
Oh, yeah, I'm dealing with anxiety too. I'm working with a therapist on that.
So it might just be that. I don't want to blow it off, but definitely if you see your doctor, they'll probably refer you to a cardiologist. The cardiologist will run some tests. They'll do usually an ultrasound of your heart and have you wear a heart monitor, mainly to check and see what this heart rhythm is that's happening to you when you're sitting around or whatever it is, to make sure it's not something dangerous. Once we rule out all the possible dangerous things, then we can say, look, might be anxiety, might be this, it could be asthma, it could be breathing trouble, could be just, obesity, it could be anything really. There's a million things that could give you palpitations or like some chest tightness, but we definitely have to rule out all the serious stuff first. So definitely that's probably what they would do. What have you tried for weight loss?
I'm still kind of getting into it. I quit drinking energy drinks couple months ago, probably too. I don't know. Maybe that's leading to the palpitations. I quit drinking the Red Bulls, cut back on pop, and then just trying to make better choices, quit eating out so much. So I've lost 20 pounds since January so far.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's real good. And that's not even really tracking or anything. You just cut out a few random things. That's real good. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times intuitively you can do that. But I will, not to like poop on your parade. The body is really good at compensating and getting you back to where you were. So when you cut out certain things or you make some minor changes, your body, most people will lose weight. Like people who take up running for the first month or two, they lose a bunch of weight. Like I started jogging, I started walking, whatever. That's assuming they didn't do anything else. They'll lose weight. They might lose 10, 15 pounds over the next few months. But long term, your body kind of fights that back, increases your hunger signaling, reduces satiety, all of that, and people will gain their weight back. Same thing happens with food. Let's say you cut out pop, alcohol, pizza on Monday nights, whatever it might be, different things. You'll lose some weight initially, but as time goes on, your body will kind of like, well, let's throw in a little bit of this, let's throw in a little bit of that. It might not. But unless you're like really strict with tracking, and I'm not trying to give you an eating disorder because some people, you could also view that as an eating disorder. Mm-hmm. But if you're not really strict with the amount of food you're putting in, doing it intuitively will work for a while until kind of you plateau and it doesn't, people lose interest and then they kind of just regain the weight. Right. So I don't want you to go through that because it's very difficult. Ask anybody who's yo-yo dieted their whole lives, which is probably all of us, even me. It's very difficult to get remotivated and restarted after each subsequent time of a weight loss failure or a weight loss plateau or gaining it back. It becomes harder and harder to kind of restart. So definitely, I would recommend the same thing we told Vincent and Dennis that Gretchen has also been doing. Track with an app. If you know the inputs, it's really hard to mess it up. You hit your 1800 or 2100 or 2500, whatever it is. You got 2500, you're done for the day. And it doesn't even matter what it is, like just for weight loss only. I'm not talking about like health and nutrient density and, long-term outcomes, but losing weight does improve long-term outcomes, obviously. But for weight loss alone, you could eat what you still like. You could eat the Kayla Cox diet and lose a ton of weight, even though it's what you've been eating your whole life. It's just a lot less. So right. you could absolutely do that. I would highly recommend doing it through the app because you'll be more regimented, let's say, and you'll be like more accountable. Plus you'll be accountable, with us if you are, if you were to join the community or just a group, like a support group, reach out to anybody. In any kind of like communal support environment. Like whenever you add the studies have been done, and I've been lecturing on weight loss for like 20 years almost. One of the biggest factors to successful weight loss for people who don't regain it is that they had a social support system. It's similar to like smoking cessation. If you have a couple that smokes and the woman wants to quit and the guy doesn't, it's very hard for her to quit. Because she smells it, it's always in the house. Like, it's hard to quit. Mm-hmm. Or a couple who wants to lose weight together and he starts bringing in healthy food and starts exercising and she doesn't, it's very hard for him to stick to that. So same thing kind of with weight loss. If you do it on your own, some people are just super motivated. Like when the switch flips in their brain, they're on it and they're just going to do it. But a lot of people, most people, probably that's really hard to do. And it's easier to do it when you've got, a coworker or a friend or a spouse, people like us, helping you out with it. I would recommend that. but it's not insurmountable. I mean, you can absolutely do it. You just have to do it on a long enough time horizon. So pick something you can do forever. Like I always tell my patients, don't pick like if I tell you to eat kale and quinoa for the rest of your life, you'll lose weight, but you might only do it for 10 minutes and hate it. You know,
those are two of my favorite foods. That's just rude.
But not everyone likes those. I mean, pick the most hateful thing you want. I don't know. Pick something you abhor and just like try to eat that for the rest of your life. Yeah, you might be able to eat kale and spinach and I don't know, something for the rest of your life, cottage cheese, but do you like that? I mean, can you do that forever?
Because 8 ounces of cottage cheese has 25 grams of protein. So you add that to everything, every meal.
Absolutely. But I prefer the Greek yogurt.
That doesn't have as much protein as cottage cheese. I'm sorry.
Right. You're
so
right.
I will win that.
No,
battle.
but the one that's 0% is pure protein.
But that's only 16 grams and 5.3 ounces. So I've got you there.
What
they sell one that's 25 grams of protein.
You can, but I like chocolate protein powder, and that doesn't sound good.
Putting it in what?
If you put protein powder, I only use chocolate protein powder, so it doesn't sound good.
I only use strawberry. I only use the strawberry one.
Ooh, I don't know about that.
Try it and see. If this thing disconnects, just click the same link. I don't know. I think I told it 10:30, but just re-click the same link. It should work again. But any other questions, Kayla?
No, that's a good start to bring up to her tomorrow.
Yeah, definitely just start there and just keep going. And also, obviously, if there's an obesity medicine specialist near you, those new medications combined with some of the old ones are just fantastic. But obviously, if you can do it on your own without that and use those later as like a boost or like to kind of keep you going, you could always do that too. It just depends.
I downloaded that app. I'm going to play with it a little bit.
Yeah, mess around with it. Pick the kind of diet you like. Have you
gone to YouTube and watched any of his weight loss videos? I've watched him a couple, 2 or 3 times through. I mean, the knowledge is just, he shares all this knowledge with everyone. But just to hear it and to reaffirm what he says and to know what you're doing is the right things, it's so helpful to hear it and to hear it again. So I've taken so much stuff from all your YouTube videos. It's very helpful.
The weight loss playlist is very helpful.
Yeah, if you go to my YouTube channel,
actually, if you just type in on the podcast, but go to YouTube, they're all there in one playlist.
I think if you type in weightlossplaylist.com into any browser, it'll take you there. Let me see if that still works. Yeah, if you type in weightlossplaylist.com, it'll take you to my ultimate weight loss playlist on YouTube. And I always tell people you'll have a PhD in weight loss if you actually get through all the videos. You'll know exactly how to lose weight with.
Wait, you were only supposed to watch them once?
You can watch them as many times as you want.
I've definitely watched more than once.
Did you get your PhD yet?
I'm not quite there yet, but I'm working on it.
Yeah, no, it's. I think it's great. It's basically some of them are medical lectures at medical conferences with all the science and data and studies and links, and some of them are more for consumers and average everyday people. But still, like once you get through it, you'll know exactly how to lose weight without being insane and doing crazy fad diets and a bunch of crazy stuff.
Doc, I have a question.
Yeah.
I had posted my latest blood work last week. And my cardiologist called me yesterday. He said my numbers were awful. And
what did you post them under? I'll look right now.
I think didn't Martin post them?
Yes.
For you?
Oh, I think I responded to that, didn't I?
Yeah, you asked me was I on metformin or Jardian?
Oh, yeah.
But I didn't tell you the part. I was on 10 milligrams of Crestor for years, and I took your advice and I asked him, could I switch to 20? And he hemmed and hawed about it and said, you got to really be careful because it can cause muscle cramps. Well, yesterday when he called me, I've only been on it 20 for 5 weeks. He wants to increase it to 40, and he wants me to get a catheterization. And I said, I'm not having any chest pains or.
You should not get a cath if you have no chest pain whatsoever. That makes no sense. So, why does he want to do a cath?
He said it was something else. They could give me an IV in my hand and do a CAT scan.
Oh, a stress Oh, a CT angiogram. I see what they're saying. Yeah, I mean, I could see that. You could do a CT angiogram. I think they're going to do the CT where they take pictures of the inside of your arteries.
Yeah, and
That's
he
what it
said he
sounds
was
like.
going to get me some kind of pill because he needed my heart rate around 60.
Yeah, metoprolol. They try to get your heart rate under 60.
Okay.
That's right. Yeah, that's not a bad idea, Rick. Definitely do that. And then also, Rick, I highly recommend probably also finding an obesity specialist to help, because the new medications that actually treat diabetes, which you technically have, you would qualify for all of those. I mean, a little bit of Ozempic or Mounjaro here and there, you'll probably drop another 40 pounds. I know you dropped 40 on your own just, by doing kind of what I've been saying, but you're kind of been stuck at that 199, 195 range. You could easily drop some more with just a little bit, even like the lowest dose. And that would make your numbers fantastic, obviously.
And that's one of the injectables.
It's once a week, yeah.
Okay.
And it will completely reverse/remiss your diabetes or insulin resistance, whatever you want to call it. Do you have a bird walking on you?
That's Nugget. He wanted out.
That's Nugget.
It's Nugget.
Yeah.
Do they have the pill form of GLP-1?
They do. It's called Rybelsus, but it doesn't work very well for weight loss, if at all. They need to make it. They're studying it in a higher dose. It's a peptide, and it's only like 3, 7, and 14 milligrams. It gets dissolved too quickly in your stomach, but they're coming out with a whopping dose of like 100 or 50, because that one seems to be more workable.
Have they tested it on anyone for maintenance, or is it too soon?
It's only approved for diabetes technically. I don't know that they would,
because I honestly don't think I'm on it for diabetes, but I don't think I will continue it at any higher dose, like at a high dose, because I know how to eat now. But
yeah, there are some permanent effects.
Which one are you on, Gretchen?
I'm on Mounjaro. I was on Ozempic. I started in, I think, 2018. And I gained weight on that. I didn't lose anything on that. And I had bad side effects. I was off of it for a while, and my A1C started to creep back up. So I wanted to go back on something. And my A1C with weight loss and being on Mounjaro, my A1C is now at 5.1, which is out of the diabetic range. So I don't know. I don't know.
No, I mean,
but
I think the way you did it though is right, Gretchen. You lost a ton of weight, just doing with the app.
And then I found out how to eat properly.
Right, you learned how to eat properly, and then you got on Mounjaro. So that definitely made a difference as you got stuck and stalled. But you've never been able to lose that much weight before, so that made a huge difference. But no, Rick, I would absolutely ask to see, since you are technically diabetic and all, you would benefit tremendously from that. Even if you just dropped another 20 to 25 pounds, you would see a tremendous benefit.
It's kind of confusing to me because my A1C was 5.0, but you still think I'm probably diabetic?
Well, I mean, it's not in the guidelines. The Endocrine Society is not going to tell you this, and none of these people even understand it. But insulin resistance is obviously a spectrum. If you're down in the low 4s, you're not diabetic at all. Okay. The closer and closer you get up into the 5s, the more insulin resistant you are. 5.7 is the cutoff for pre-diabetes, and then 6.5 for actual real diabetes. Being in the 5 to 5.5 range is still insulin resistant. Or, you could just do it for cardiac. I mean, now the Ozempic, the Wegovy, the higher dose of Ozempic is approved for cardiac. If you have atherosclerosis, CAD, anything like that, stents, heart attack, stroke, you technically qualify for Wegovy as a cardiac indication. Plus, you're overweight, and you've had, that can help. That actually can help you get it approved.
Well, this test that I'm having done next week, does that show if I have blocked arteries?
So here's what they do. They inject dye. They inject dye into this part. We can see this part. We can't see what's in the walls, but we can see that this path is open. That's what that test will show you.
Okay.
But I would recommend that test. Linda is asking in the chat, Hi, Dr. Al. Why not start with bempedoic acid instead of statin for LDL over 100 and HDL greater than 45 for a younger female age less than 40? So bempedoic acid is not first line, and it's expensive and hard to get approved unless you've already tried a statin. If you've tried a statin and Zetia, and you can't take those, and you've tried more than one statin, like almost multiple ones, then they might approve it. But some insurances are even requiring us now to put people on Repatha too first before they jump to bempedoic acid. It all has to do with cost, because bempedoic acid is the newest player in the field. They're going to require us to jump through more hoops to get it approved. So that's why that's the case. And she says Ribelsis gave me GI side effects, and so I had to quit. In that case, you might be a better candidate for Mounjaro instead of semaglutide.
Well, out of those 3 injectables that you wrote down for me, would one be your top choice?
Mounjaro.
I mean, it just depends. Some people respond better to one or the other. Some people just never got titrated enough. Your insurance might not approve either Ozempic or Mounjaro. You might be able to get away with the older ones. Try Trulicity, Bydureon, Byetta, Duraglutide, Liraglutide, Saxenda. I mean, there's so many other ones. They're all in the same class.
I know a couple of them I looked up. They said that you might qualify for some financial assistance, but we're on Social Security, and they won't do it if you're on Social Security.
If your income level is below, and diabetic, if your income level is below a certain amount, they almost all have an assistance program. Andrew can tell you every single drug manufacturer has an assistance program.
Always.
They just send it to your house for free.
Yeah.
The Eliquis that Dennis was probably on, all these medications, whether they're blood thinners or whatever, any of these newer meds that are not generic yet, they will just send it to your house if you don't make enough money. That's easy to do.
Okay.
And people, complain, big pharma, they're so evil. I mean, they literally send people billions of dollars of drugs for free every year.
That's very, very true.
I mean, they also make billions, granted.
Andrew, I may reach out and ask you how to get in touch with one of the 3.
Yeah, and honestly, Victoza is about to become generic, so and that doesn't mean it's going to become cheap immediately, but it's going to be generic within the next few months here. Let me look up that. Does anybody remember the date of when that's going to happen? I think it's this year.
I think it's I think it's next year. I don't think it's this year.
June 2024. Victoza could be generic by June 2024. So give it like another month or so. But it works. You just got to titrate it up to the right dose. That's the original one that was approved for weight loss, but it was called Saxenda. It was just a much higher dose. Kayla is saying, my LDL is 117, HDL 36. Do I need to take a statin? Do I need to ask about a statin tomorrow? Can a piece be prescribed when A1C was 5.6, I think? Yeah, so 5.6 is definitely just 0.1 away from diabetes, or pre-diabetes. So you could... 117, unless you are, like I said, unless your diet is very malignant, like you eat a lot of saturated fat, and saturated fat is fat that is solid at room temperature. That's the easiest way to describe it. Butter, bacon, lard, cheese, tallow, ghee. Ghee maybe is not, solid, but coconut oil, things like that. Any fat that's solid at room temperature, or basically like animal-based, other than the tropical oils like coconut, that would raise your LDL. Now, if you're eating tons of that and you get rid of it, you'll probably drop. You'll probably get into the 90s. But if you're not eating a lot of that, it's probably not going to get to under 100 very easily. You usually can get about a 10% reduction with changing up your diet, depending on what your starting diet was.
Okay.
And Andy is asking, Andy Beben, I tried to get PCSK9 through the manufacturer, but declined. First time that ever happened to me. Try HealthWell. Yeah, there's a lot of ways, and your doctor usually has ways of getting these things for you, Rick. Depends on also your income level and how you fill out the forms. A lot of patients put like their entire net worth on there. No, just stop.
No, as is, like I said,
down your annual or monthly income. You don't need to put down, your gigantic, 401k net worth or whatever else you're doing. Just
we're
put
safe
down
on
some simple stuff.
Yeah, we're there. Social
What's that?
Security. We're safe
Yeah.
on that. We just have Social Security.
Right. I think it just depends, but definitely they can get it for you. And your doctor's office will have samples. Go to one of these obesity places that may have samples, or your family doctor might have them. Cardiologists now have samples of a lot of these because it's approved for cardiac issues.
Oh, and one last question.
Yeah.
Him switching me to that 40 milligram, is that going to be okay to take?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And okay, in terms of what?
Well, I didn't know if it would maybe cause muscle spasms or be too strong.
Well, there's only one way to know. It is to just try it. But also there's something called the nocebo or drucebo effect. The drug, or knowing that the drug might cause muscle aches. A lot of people experience muscle aches. So
Right.
just make sure that, you're cognizant of that. Now, it's hard to tell sometimes because you don't know.
Is Rick on Zetia?
Yes.
He's on Zetia plus Crestor. That's it, right, Rick?
Yeah, I stopped the Jim Fibersil.
Yeah, Jim Fibersil is not helpful, especially with, being on a statin.
They don't actually reduce events at all.
Not Gemfibrozil, but fenofibrate did, but it was minimal. It wasn't a huge amount.
That was the prominence study showed they didn't really move the needle in terms of outcomes.
It wasn't very huge. That's why we don't use them anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my cardiologist, he got real indignant when I told him I wanted to stop taking it. But
I mean, I don't know what cardiologist still prescribes Gemfibrozil. Was he like 100 years old? I mean, I don't know. That's just,
he's 60.
There was one medication that lowered triglycerides and did have positive outcomes. I forget the name of it, Doc.
Lowered triglycerides alone? This is recent, though.
I was talking about Vasipa, but keep going.
Oh, Vasipa.
Shocking.
So this is like I always explain to people, like, I have farm reps that come in all the time, like, Doc, you got to prescribe this medication. It's the greatest thing in the world. I'm like, no, it doesn't work. Please leave. Stop harassing me.
Wait, okay, so does Vasipa work or not?
Oh, shit.
Because my cardiologist took me off of it, but I thought I saw a video of Dr. Allo saying something different. Maybe.
Okay, so there are some very special.
This I can say I used to sell Vasipa, but Doc, you keep going.
Yeah, so Andrew would probably one of these reps that comes to my office. I'm like, sorry, man, I can't really prescribe this. And he's like, why, Doc? Look at these outcomes. Look at it. I'm like, dude, it doesn't do any of that. It doesn't work. But anyways, so go ahead.
No, look, it's one thing to say because of the mineral oil placebo that the results aren't as dramatic, but it's a big stretch for you to say it doesn't work at all.
No, it does do what it's supposed to do. The question is, does it actually improve outcomes, or was it because it was a malignant placebo? That's the question. It does lower triglycerides. So here's the thing, Vincent. If you are maximized on everything else, your LDL's down, it's not going to lower your LDL, but let's say your LDL's down on Crestor and Zetia. I forgot what you were on, or whatever, Repatha, bempedoic acid, whatever. You're on good stuff that works, and your triglycerides still like 200, but your diabetes is well controlled. Your A1C is like 5.1. You're not one of these people that's out of control on your A1C. You're not drinking tons of alcohol. You don't have kidney problems. None of the other stuff that can raise triglycerides. You're on a fenofibrate, which does lower triglycerides as well. You're maximized on everything. Then we'd be like, do we really need to make the numbers look prettier or not? You could take Vasipa in that case. It will lower your triglycerides. Whether that's going to contribute this much, to outcomes, or this much more on top of everything else you're already doing, I don't know. Maybe. But you were talking about like missing the forest for the trees. If you just put people on Vasipa, like I get so many patients where their primary doctor just put them on Vasipa and they're not on anything else.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Their diabetes is out of control. Their triglycerides are through the roof. They're not on statins. They're not on anything else. Their triglycerides are high, and they're like, oh, here's some Vasipa or fenofibrate even. Like, why are you treating triglycerides? There's no data and targets to treat triglycerides. There's targets for LDL and everything else. Get all that stuff down. If the triglycerides are still high, then add the fenofibrate and then add Vasipa. Like, there are special uses for it. It's not completely useless, but maximize everything else. So that would be my take, and the general guidelines take on what you should be doing with that. Kayla says she had to go put her kids to sleep. Jason is saying, my heart rate's typically 90 to 105. I mentioned it before. If I go on Nabivol, what should I be looking for? Well, it'll lower your heart rate and your blood pressure generally.
Oh, yeah. I remember he said that last week.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I'm
I
on
think
losartan. But what dose should I be asking for the Nabivol to lower my heart rate?
it's usually 5 twice a day, but it's kind of a weak dose. 10 twice a day might be better.
Yeah. I think 10 is the, after 10 milligrams, it has a diminishing returns effect.
Yeah, so I would start with just 5 and see how you do, and then maybe adjust from there.
Is that typically dose twice a day?
Yeah.
I still have bistolic samples in that cabinet that are long expired.
You know, they found drugs in people's basements from like 30 years ago, or like their attics, and they tested them. They're still like 85%, working, like 85% still like functional, even though they expired 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So that's what I don't get. Like some of my friends are like, oh my God, don't take that Tylenol. It's been sitting there for a year. And it literally expired 2 months ago. Like, oh, it's expired. Like, chill out. We found Tylenol with the mummies and it still works. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No, but they found honey in those pyramids and it was still good because honey is like antifungal, antibacterial.
Wait, honey from like 3,000 years ago?
But it's not aloe honey.
From the pyramids, yeah, like in the mummies within their sarcophagus, whatever that's called. Sorry, I'm not.
So like there was actual honey that was still like live,
in little bottles, yeah, and it was still good. You could actually eat it.
That's so weird. And we buy
when will the honeybees be coming out?
I think my honeybees are already out.
Really?
I have to go check on them. I need to go check on them. Yeah, they probably have tons of honey I need to go get.
Oh.
I could use a cold pressure.
I'll send you some.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I have a question. So if I'm still trying to lose fat, I have to build muscle, of course, still, but should I be lifting before or after cardio then?
Honestly, it's not. Again, I think like this is one of these cases where we're splitting hairs. I would recommend if you want to build muscle mainly, and that's a main goal, is to lift weights first. And then at the end, just do some light cardio, even just like a light slight incline on a treadmill, get your heart rate just over 100, but not over 130, and just walk kind of peacefully.
Well, I mean, because when I'm running,
that's like just to get into the fat burning zone.
Well, because usually any cardio I do is between like 120 and 160.
That's totally.
And my max is like but I should do weights first.
Yeah. I mean, you got to warm up first. So what you could do is like, I usually have my people that work out with me get on a bike, just go real hard just to get your heart pumping and get blood flow to your muscles, and then work out.
Yeah. So you do the weights first because you want to burn the glycogen out of the muscle. So when you do the cardio, you're trying to tap mostly into the fat stores.
Okay.
Gretchen's out here running 9-minute miles, so I think a little walking after lifting weights will be easy.
I never thought I could get to a 10-minute mile, so my 9-minute mile is going to happen very soon.
Do you remember
I'm
last
at
summer?
9:13.
Last summer, what
I'm at
were you
9:13.
I saw that. It was like
I was
13
walking.
seconds. I know, but like, could you have ever imagined how far you've come or what you're doing and how this is going? Yeah, it's incredible.
No. So I'm very, very, I don't know where, I don't think I'm going to get past 9, but like I'm going to get to 9 and I think that's it because I want to still enjoy it.
No,
but I also like the challenge.
Don't do it unless you enjoy it. Martin,
I like the challenge, but that's it.
How long does one need to take metoprolol in my case, doc? So now the new guidelines actually say you don't need to be on it forever. Talk to your cardiologist though, Martin, but now if your ejection fraction, if your heart is pumping above 40%, you don't need to be on metoprolol. So talk to your doctor and see, but generally the newer guidelines say not to be on it. Is anyone else that is Sharon? Does Sharon have any questions? There's a Sharon on here that I see.
Wait, did you say if his EF is above 40, not to be on it because it won't do anything?
After a heart attack or bypass surgery, if your ejection fraction is above 40%, they're now saying you take metoprolol for a little bit and then you don't need to be on it forever.
Oh, so it's not because it'll have a deleterious effect, because you just don't need to.
You don't need it, and they're wondering now if we actually need. We have better stuff out there, like the Arnis, like the Entresto, the Jardians, the spironolactones, the ACE inhibitors, even all that stuff actually improves heart function tremendously compared to what the beta blockers do. But back then, all we had was beta blockers.
Yeah.
Linda's asking if saturated fat from coconut oil raises LDL. Yes, it absolutely does. It's palmitic oil, or palmitic acid, I should say. That's the fatty acid that's in the coconut oil mainly. All of the palmitic, tropical oils like coconut, I guess that's the only one.
I think it's also fingerprint too, because I guarantee you, I could eat coconut oil right now and ain't nothing going to happen.
For you, yes, because your LDL is 10.
Yeah.
Yes, but you're an anomaly.
No, what I'm saying is it won't raise to 20 by eating coconut oil. I think it's fingerprint. Don't you think?
What do you fingerprint? What do you mean?
In other words, genetic.
No. I mean, eating saturated fat, everyone will get their cholesterol up. You have a genetic issue. That's a different story. But most people that don't have a PCSK9 loss of function gene mutation, which is what I'm assuming you have, I don't know.
I would guess too, yeah.
That's what would be my guess. But most people, if they ate coconut oil, their LDL would absolutely go up.
Yeah.
How much is definitely genetically determined. Some people might go more, some people might go less.
Doc, I have one last question if you have time.
Yeah, of course.
I couldn't get my blood work to post up, so Martin, my buddy, posted it for me.
Yeah, let me take a look.
One day this week, if you'd look at it, that's what my cardiologist said. All my numbers were horrible.
Let me look. So your HDL is 26. Your LDL total particle count was 1,200. Your calculated LDL is 68. You have insulin resistance based on your LPIR score. Your lipoprotein IR, lipoprotein insulin resistance score, based on 4, 5, 6 metrics. Everything else seems okay. Let me pull up your other one. He posted 2 of them. Oh, it's the same one again. Yeah, your numbers, I mean, I don't know why he said the word horrible. They're definitely not good.
What's going to help change with that 40 milligrams?
Honestly, you should be on, you're on metformin or no? No, I would take metformin, but start slow. You want to get up to 4 pills a day, but just start with 1 like every other day, or cut them in half. Just take like half a pill a day for a few weeks, then add another, then another, then another. Eventually, slowly over like a few months, get to 4 a day. That would help tremendously. What dose of Crestor are you on?
I just started yesterday, the 40 milligrams. 40.
Okay. Yeah, that would definitely help. Every time you double the statin, you get about a 6 to 8% further reduction. So honestly, you probably are going to need to be on Repatha. And also, I would ask for like Ozempic or Mounjaro. Weight loss will crash your triglycerides for certain. Your triglycerides.
Yep, I see that, Jason.
Okay, so Ozempic or Mounjaro.
Yeah, either one of those.
Okay. And how long since I just started that 40 milligrams yesterday? He wants me to get my blood rechecked, but how long should I wait?
It's instantaneous. Tomorrow morning, it's slower. Check it now if you want.
He is such a jerk. He said, "Oh, you'll have to wait about 8 weeks."
I mean, your insurance might make you, but no, I don't think he's being a jerk. I just think that's just what he remembers from the way he was taught. But no, it definitely changes. It drops overnight.
Okay.
Especially with Crestor, other medications take a little longer because they got to build up, like Repatha or inclisiran or whatever.
Well,
but
I'm on the Zetia 10. Is that as big a dose of that as you can take?
Yeah, that's all you get. There's no more. And it's
I take Crestor 40 milligrams, and my LDL went down to 44 just with that.
Yeah, that's true. Everyone's a little different, but that's fantastic.
Okay.
So we got to start talking about moving forward. We got to start talking more about hypertension too. We're leaving that out a lot. And I get the limits are important, but
No, I agree. Andy is asking that he was on Ozempic. He lost a bunch of weight, but he lost interest in protein and wanted more sugar-related products. Yeah, that's the thing. I did a whole video. You guys should really watch the video called Mounjaro Magic. that I did with the other doctor, the other cardiologist who lost like 55, maybe 60 pounds on Mounjaro. He's a cardiologist from Texas. His name is Texas Heart Doc on TikTok. If you look up Texas Heart Doc, he lost like 60 pounds almost on, I forget if it was Mounjaro. I think, yeah, it's Mounjaro.
Mounjaro.
The video is called Mounjaro Magic. We talk about like this weird like reward system in your brain that kind of switches off. Like you don't enjoy coffee, certain things, cravings, shopping, even biting your nails. Like
I did hear that. I did hear that.
It knocks out like people don't drink alcohol anymore. They got rid of weird addictions. They don't enjoy certain things. Yeah, somebody said.
I just enjoy different things now. I just found other things that I enjoy. Like, I don't think I'm missing things.
So they got to prescribe you an SSRI.
No, but some people said it helped their depression. Some of the people in there said it actually helped their depression, and it took away a lot of these weird cravings. Which
maybe because they were losing weight, so they were getting happy or something.
Well, I don't know that it's that. I think it really affects your brain. Like these things have some significant impact on your brain where you don't like hedonistic type behavior.
Well, there's no free lunch, so. There's no free lunch. Every action has equal opposite reaction. So, I mean,
it's not always equal and opposite. I think the amount of side effects that we're seeing from these are not bad. It just depends on the person.
Yeah, I don't really see the side effects either. I mean,
if you like coffee and now you hate it because of the medicine, that's not bad, but it's also took away something you enjoyed. I don't know. These medications are really strange. This is like the weirdest thing I think we've seen in all of medicine in a long time. I think it has the ability to change the face of obesity and health outcomes in our country. Like, here's the thing. We live longer today than we ever have.
Oh, easy.
We're more obese, more hypertensive, more AFib, more heart disease, but surviving it, like not dying of heart disease, but we have it. More than ever. Imagine if now everybody drops 40, 50% of their body weight, 40, 50 pounds, 100 pounds. Imagine how much longer or healthier of a lifespan or lifespan / health span we can have if people were closer to their ideal body weight and we had all this modern, magical world that we live in now with modern medicine and antibiotics. And
I mean, I think if you just by optimizing the A1C, the blood pressure, the cholesterol, and so forth, the ABCs that, you're really in good shape there. And I think the blood pressure aspect, which is really not talked about as much as it should, as we age, our angiotensinogen levels raise, our ability, our vasculature constricts more and so forth. And that's why everybody has hypertension. So, but nowadays we know the mechanisms with the ROS system to negate all this with the ARBs, the ACEs have been around for 100 years. I texted you about this, Doc. I was like, this stuff's not even new technology. This stuff's been around for 100 years.
And it works. The funny thing is, I remember even when I was in med school, they told us in pharmacology class that if you are on an ACE inhibitor, like lisinopril, for example, you'll live longer regardless of anything else.
Easy.
People on lisinopril live longer regardless of anything else, mainly obviously probably due to its blood pressure lowering effects. And we also know like people with the lowest blood pressures live the longest too.
Yeah.
Linda's asking, I'm wondering if statins or bempedoic acid helps reduce fatty liver. No, but weight loss does. If you cut calories and lose weight, absolutely reverses and or reduces fatty liver. So definitely.
I think to look at, Doc, to your point, I mean, a lot of these, especially talking about the ARBs and the ACEs and even the cardioselective beta blockers, they have a lot more. We're discovering they're having a lot more benefit than just hypertension. When I sold Bystolic, the only thing we could say was for hypertension. Now they're discovering a lot of antioxidant benefit between Bystolic, especially going into the ARBs. Telmisartan has shown weight loss benefit due to the PPAR activity.
All of the ACEs and ARBs do have as a side effect weight loss.
Telmisartan probably has the most pronounced from what I've studied, but the point being is like there's a tremendous benefit there. So,
hey Doc, I take Ramipril. What about that?
It lowers your blood pressure the least, but it's still an ACE inhibitor. If your blood pressure is well controlled, it's a fine choice. It helps your heart not have to struggle to work as hard, which really works. It helps it not scar over, especially after open heart surgery. So your heart doesn't scar and get weaker. So that's good.
What's the benefit of an ACE over an ARB?
So ACEs technically are
different
superior.
mechanism. Yeah.
But because so they work on two different parts of a receptor. Like you have the one end of it here, one end of it here. The ACEs block this part, and the ARBs block this part. They block the receptor versus the thing that sends
the
out
ACE
little
blocks is
hormone.
the conversion from angiotensin 1 to 2, and the ARBs just block it completely. So to his point, yeah, the ACEs are probably a little bit better.
Put them in the
But they
They're
came
very,
first,
very
though.
similar. They
Yeah.
act in the same area. They're very, very similar. The ACEs could cause a cough in some people, and like 3 to 5% of people get a weird cough, a very dry, hacking cough.
I always believe that the ARBs are better, but he prescribes them, and I don't. So I'm going to take his word for it, that the ACEs are better. So like that's his trump card, is that he prescribes them, I don't. So yeah.
The funny thing is, ACE inhibitors came from viper venom.
Yes, they did. Yeah.
Viper used to bite people, inject a bunch of lisinopril, or I think it was enalapril.
Well, lisinopril came from the viper venom.
All of them, all the prils, all the ACEs. You drop your blood pressure so low that you don't get any more like good enough blood flow to your brain and your organs, and you die. So that was how it worked. So we found the molecule, and now we can microdose it to lower people's pressure. Sarah's asking, what should I ask my cardiologist appointment first tomorrow?
My first appointment with a cardiologist tomorrow.
I would just kind of like how we're doing now, just kind of be like, hey, here's my situation. Here's what I want out of this meeting. And my lipoprotein A is this, my ApoB is that, my LDL cholesterol is this. I want to live a long, healthy life. What do you suggest? And here's what I want my LDL to be.
Well, I'm curious as far as I want to, like everybody, I want to put off taking statins as long as I can. But I know that might not be possible.
We all want statins. We want as low as possible.
It's just in my head. I don't want to do it. So let's say, like, based on my research, like the top 3 or 4, things to reduce it, lifestyle. I mean, how long do you give it with lifestyle changes before you just say it ain't happening?
My preventative cardiology patient, I said, look, you got 3 months. Show me what you can do. But the problem is they try. And if they do it, fine. But like, it's never going to get down to like what I would want it to be. Like I wanted my LDL really low. All the diet and exercise in the world. I mean, unless I eat like just lettuce, it's probably not going to get my LDL into the 40s, like even with baby doses of Crestor and Zetia. So I don't know. It depends on what your goals are. What are your intentions and your goals?
If you got genetic variants influencing it, don't matter what you eat, your LDL is still going to be in the zip code.
You had a lipoprotein A that was elevated, right, Sarah, or no?
No, I think my lipoprotein A. My LP little a is like 8.
8, yeah. So you're fine. So yeah, you just want what was your LDL number? Remind me.
Well, my ApoB last test was 103. It had gone up like 30% over the past.
So if you just take Crestor 5, that would be like 68 or 70. You would be well under the 100.
Okay. And you said last.
He does a video where he explains how the statins are actually, excuse me, I have a bit of a little congested, where the statins actually showed they're actually not beneficial for dementia, but they did not increase the risk of dementia. I believe that's what your concern is.
That's one concern. The other concern is I'm not on anything right now other than like vitamin D. So I wanted to keep that going as long as I can.
Statins have been shown to reduce all forms of cognitive decline, including Alzheimer's. 32% reduction in Alzheimer's and 22% for other forms of dementia. Obviously, it reduces microvascular because it's plugged up arteries into your brain. Yeah. That part's not hard to figure out, but it reduced Alzheimer's incidence somehow. We don't know exactly, but 32%. And this is looking at 5 million people over.
And on a serious note, people 100 years ago wished there was something called a statin. Thank God you live in an era where we have the technology to fix these problems.
I mean, I don't understand. Like people are like, oh, here, you want to buy these longevity supplements. We have them. They're called medications. Yeah. And we have long-term studies that show they work.
Studies that show that you are going to live longer.
Absolutely. Humans live longer now than ever before. Like in the year 1800, there's barely 1 billion people on Earth.
Yeah, you died of like a strep throat back then.
It took another 100 years to get to 2 billion. So by 1900, it's about 2 billion. Then it accelerated to get to 4 billion was like another 50 years. Then the next, by 1986 or so, we had like 4.9, almost 5 billion. And now there's almost 9 billion people on Earth. The average lifespan for every age has almost tripled. Like if you took a 15-year-old in 1850, they lived to about 35, maybe 40. And now they could easily live to like 80 or 90 or at least 70. Most people live to 70. So the lifespans would due to medications, cleanliness, sanitation, lack of war, infant mortality is down, better medications, better stents, better therapeutics, all that stuff has made people live longer despite technically being unhealthier. So, it's pretty incredible that despite all the chronic diseases, despite more obesity, sleep apnea, AFib, diabetes, hypertension, statin, cholesterol, all that stuff, despite all of that, we actually are living longer and there's more people around.
Did the statins help at all with insulin resistance?
They generally
side effect or whatever?
No, they generally make it so it depends on which one and how.
Like a 10% uptick in.
There's a slight increase in insulin resistance depending on the statin and which one. But for example, rosuvastatin is 0.1% up in your A1C, but diabetics need the most LDL lowering. They're the highest risk people. Yeah. So they would still benefit even if your A1C went from 5.5 to 5.6. But you reduce your LDL by over 70%, you're fine. That little 0.1% isn't going to make a difference compared to a 90% reduction.
HbA1c was 5.3.
Oh, yeah. You've got nothing to worry about then. I mean, it's not incredibly low, but also if it goes to 5.4, it's not a huge deal. So that's not going to be a problem.
Hey, I want to take a chance and thank everybody. It was good seeing the regulars. It was very nice to meet all the new members. I've got to go and check on my wife.
Yeah, go, Rick. I know she needs you.
I really enjoyed seeing everybody. Martin, I love you.
Good night, Uncle Rick.
Tell Denise we said hi.
Tomorrow, Rick.
Okay. All right, Doc. Love you too, pal.
Yep. Take care, Rick. Tell Denise we said hi.
Good night.
I sure will.
So, Doctor, I have a quick question. Okay, so we see, like, we're living so much longer, but our time that puberty starts is staying the same. Menopause still starts about the same age. Are we seeing heart disease is starting at the same age as it was in terms of
gotten worse?
I don't think it's gotten worse. I think it's about the same. Men and women, men usually get heart disease around age 55, 60, women usually 65, 70. I don't know that that's changed, but also
they're saying it's going to get worse.
Well, perhaps because we have so many more people, but less people are dying of it, and they're dying much later. So like in the past, like if you read some of these older, books or what have you, in the 1960s and 70s, somebody had a heart attack, you just put them on some oxygen, give them some morphine, and hope they're not dead by the morning. Yeah. Back in the 60s, 90% of Americans died of something cardiac. Now you still people die of cardiac, but it's nowhere near. There's like at least an 80 since 1968. There's been a 70% reduction of deaths from cardiovascular disease. From 2003 to 2013, it was a 22% reduction. And in the last 10 years, up to 2023, there's been another 10% reduction. So we're getting better and better at keeping people around longer, even after heart disease, because of stents and open heart and all that. What's that?
But I'm asking, is it starting at the same age that it always did? Like puberty starts at this age, that hasn't changed.
Starts at birth.
So much longer. Menopause starts at the same age, even though we're living so much longer. So those two things haven't changed. So I'm wondering, is heart disease staying within that same kind of pocket that it's starting around the same age?
I think I understand your question.
Starting later.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly on the data.
The atherosclerotic process begins at birth.
Yeah, that part.
I understand that, but I mean, when treatment is actually needed, I'm just wondering, based on those two, that puberty hasn't changed much, menopause time hasn't changed much, has heart disease when it begins, has that changed very much?
That
what do you mean by begin?
It matters. It's just interesting.
Like most. So Sarah, I think what she means is like, for men, the average age of their first heart attack, let's say, is 55. Is it still 55, or have we been able to delay it to 68?
Right.
You know, I think that's what she means. That I don't know.
I like that question.
I would assume that once we get more people to the new targets, like the new targets.
Yeah, exactly.
2018, they reduced the targets. And I think once we get more people, which it takes a long time because, like you said, doctors, you guys are seeing doctors today, they're telling you 145 is normal.
So the answer to that question would be time.
A new generation of doctors, I think, needs to graduate and start treating people, which takes 10 to 15 years. I think at that time, by then we'll see a delay of first onset of new events or atherosclerosis or what have you. Once we realize, hey, we really need to get this down sooner, better, because it's completely eliminatable. We could completely eliminate heart disease. We just have to want to do it.
The problem
that's a whole chapter in my class.
I get
we
what
can
he's
completely
saying.
eliminate heart disease, but we haven't.
The problem is we're getting to the patients where their car is too far to the edge of the cliff. It's early detection is the key. The earlier, the better, and you'll improve outcomes. The problem is why these studies show such minuscule results almost, or at least in the absolute risk, doc, not the relative, is because we're getting them when their car is right at the edge of the cliff. Okay. And we're putting on the brakes. And yes, I got that from Peter Attia.
It's a good analogy.
Yeah. So
Peter Attia was given this analogy of, let's say you're driving towards a cliff, you're eventually going to fall off, right? And when you fall off, that's when you have atherosclerosis. He said you have 1 foot on the brakes and 1 foot on the gas. You can either press the accelerator by having a horrible diet, saturated fat, smoking, diabetes, cholesterol, whatever, or you could step on the accelerator and kind of delay and prolong the amount of time before you fly off the cliff. So I think it's a good analogy.
Yeah.
All right. Anyone else with any questions? There's a Sharon on here, but I don't think she's asked anything. We'll give Sharon a chance here.
I may have missed earlier. Any update on the book?
I'm working on it. Problem is, I got to take out the graphics that are copyrighted, and I probably should have thought of that from the very beginning. But I have an illustrator currently redoing some of the graphics so that they're not copyrighted. So that part's going to probably take a while, but hopefully soon.
Why do you think there's like some, I don't know if call it a movement, but there's like a lot of people online in general, social media, that are against GLP-1s?
I think it's new, and anytime there's something new, people are afraid of it. So I was listening to Mind Pump today. I don't know if you've heard of this. It's a podcast. They were talking about the GLP-1s, and I think when something, they didn't give this opinion, but they were saying that they advise trainers and other people to not take a stand. Don't be in the camp of anti-GLP-1s like Jillian Michaels, or take a stand of these are the greatest things in the world. Like, these things are coming. The entire country is going to be on one of these without question. Give it another 5 years. Once more indications are approved, once more insurances can have it, once the cheaper ones become generic, the pill forms become available, everybody's going to be on one. It's coming. It's like Tylenol and ibuprofen. Everyone's going to be on it. You don't want to fall into the camp of being, I hate these things. These are bad. Why can't you just diet and exercise? Or you don't want to be in the camp of, oh my God, this is going to save the world. It might, I don't know. It seems like it's going to help a lot, but don't take a stand one way or another. These are tools that we have. It's like, why doesn't everybody lift weights? Well, not everybody wants to lift weights, but like, you don't want to take a very harsh stance one way or another, because we don't know where this is all going to settle. But the reason I think influencers do this is because it attracts controversy, and the algorithm loves controversy. If I get on there and I'm like, well, these drugs are kind of, everybody's swiped by. No one is sitting around waiting for you in the world of TikTok for you to be like, well, GLP-1s, kind of, they've already swiped. But if you come out and say, GLP-1s are evil, and they're like, whoa, what is this? And they watch to the end. So if you take a very harsh, stance in either direction, you're going to get longer view time, longer, algorithm likes you. If you take a really nuanced approach, you're going to get swiped. They're going to move on to the next video, and no one's going to care. And the algorithm's going to feed you the stuff that people watch the longest, because all they care about is watch time. They just want you to stay watching and stay on platform, and they'll show you the stuff where you keep watching. Like Jillian Michaels, she got on there and she was like, these drugs are going to kill us. Why can't people just diet and exercise? And like, she's just going nuts. But she actually sold unregulated, unproven supplements for weight loss.
So yeah, I'm getting a lot of the anti Jillian Michaels videos because I watched so much about GLP-1. So that's the only reason I know who she is.
Yeah, she's this trainer that was on the Biggest Loser contest. You guys are probably too young for that, but
no, I remember that
show where they took these people that are 400 or 500, 600 pounds sometimes, made them exercise and starve for 18 hours a day. Surprise, surprise, they lost like 300 pounds in 30 days or whatever it was. But they starved these people, and she was the one doing this. This is not a healthy way to lose weight, but it makes for great television. And 6 years later, their metabolism is still 25% lower than what it is predicted for somebody of that size, age, weight, sex, and height. But then she got off the show, started selling supplements, made her own workout programs, which I don't care. I'm a free market capitalist. Do whatever you want, but don't lie to people. You're anti-medications that are proven that work, and you sell supplements that don't fat burn anything. So it's just a moneymaker.
I mean, we're also seeing the GLP ones. We're starting to see tests where we're seeing benefit in patients that are depressed, are anxious, have executive functioning disorders, and are seeing huge improvements. So it's not just the weight loss. I mean, this is going to be.
No, I think it's Parkinson's and it's cardiac.
Yeah, Parkinson's.
There's so many different things that are coming out now.
Yeah, well, heart failure. Heart
failure was a new one that just got added. Atherosclerosis was just added. I got the box of the new atherosclerosis approved. It's so funny because it's called Wegovy.
Is it because of the weight loss, or is it a different?
Probably the weight loss and improved insulin sensitivity.
Yeah, it has a lot to do with the weight loss for sure. A lot of these diseases obviously get better with weight loss. The problem
that's the thing. It shouldn't be news because
it's not easy.
Yeah. Right. So when we improve metabolic parameters, we're going to improve certain pathologies and mortality rate.
I mean, the funny thing is these people get on there and they're like, the reason Americans have gained weight since the 1970s is because of seed oils.
I don't even know.
I mean, first of all, yes, oil does contain more calories, but that's not the only reason.
The reason why is an excess of calories and a lack of physical activity.
And in an environment that makes it so hard to do that stuff or not do that stuff. It's just not that easy. No. So these medications have come and just clicked off certain buttons in your brain that are just like, oh, I don't need to eat. Why do I need to eat? Like, I don't care. I don't need alcohol anymore. I don't need chips. I don't like coffee. I don't need those lattes. I don't need these 600 calorie smoothies. Like, it just turned off a lot of that stuff, which is pretty incredible. And I don't think we should fight it. If you're gonna be stuck on an island by yourself. If you are out there like anti GLP-1s, you're gonna be fighting against the entire world because the whole population of Earth is pretty much overweight at this point. Not everybody, but pretty close.
Yeah.
So this
will you clarify? Did you say coconut oil? No on the coconut oil.
I would say no on the coconut oil. Yeah.
All right. I just wanted to clarify. Okay.
It's mostly palmitic acid, which is a fatty acid that's saturated, and there's studies that show it does raise your cholesterol. Now there was a distinction in one of the meta-analyses where they showed that if it was like first cold pressed and not like overly processed, that maybe it was better. But I mean, how do you know? It's not really regulated. How do you know what you're actually buying? No matter what it says on the bottle, you have no idea.
Like fish oil.
Like fish oil.
Fish
oil is the worst. 95% of samples that were tested did not contain the amount or any fish oil at all.
That is true in regards to fish oil. So
I showed you the picture.
No, that was marketing material they gave us when I sold Vasipa. Is we had to say that like there was like 95% of it didn't even have any fish oil in it.
Which is actually true.
It is true, yeah. So you could, I guess that'll be in your book when you have that whole chapter bashing Vasipa. So
I did not bash Vasipa. I said that it has a use, and there's case studies at the end where we put people on Vasipa.
Yeah. I'm kidding.
The worst is the Multac rep. Do you remember
The
this
what?
medication, the
Oh,
Multac
that's
rep?
for arrhythmias, right?
Yeah, dronetadrone. She came to me and she was like, "Hey, I know you're new here. I'm new here. I'm representing this drug. It's called Multac. What do you think?" I was like, "You probably might want to find a new job." I'm like,
No, actually, there's a lot of Vasipa writers out there.
Vasipa, I get, because there's a lot of misinformed idiots out there prescribing it. But this drug, like, literally did nothing. Absolutely. I was like, listen, you might want to be looking for a new job. This ain't gonna last very long.
Yeah.
And she never came back. But no, the insurances don't allow you to prescribe it anymore because it's absolutely worthless. Just like Niaspan. The prescription niacin, they won't pay for it because it's.
Which one is more useless? Which one's more useless, Niaspan or Vasipa? Go ahead.
Niaspan for sure. It's toxic.
All right, fair enough.
It's very toxic.
Yeah.
It ruins your LDL. The metabolites are toxic. It makes your HDL more atherogenic. I mean, it does everything that you don't want.
I can't wait. One day there's going to be a study, and that study is going to debunk every myth of Vasipa. It's going to show it's even better than they thought. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pull up your phone. I told you so.
I'm not saying there's no use for Vasipa. I feel like it's one of these drugs that's just way overprescribed, and the people prescribing it are not using it correctly, which is good for business, I suppose, for you guys, but definitely
no, I don't sell it no more. That's some generic now.
Well, I don't care, but I mean, it's just not helpful when you're prescribing things that don't do what they're supposed to do.
I agree.
Or prescribing it incorrectly. Like, imagine a bodybuilder comes up to you and Andy and is like, I only need to lose 3 more pounds. Can you put me on some Ozempic? He just wants to lose that last little bit of gluteal, fat, and he's like 5 more ounces of fat off his butt, for a bodybuilding show. Let's put him on Ozempic.
So here we go. Do you believe fish oil has anti-inflammatory effects?
I don't know. Maybe some. Okay. I really don't know. It definitely helps with brain function, from what I can tell. The DHA one, at least.
Right. Yeah.
But I don't know enough about that to comment either way.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. I truthfully, I agree with you. I agree with you on that. Yeah. So, I do believe it has an anti-thrombotic effect, an antiplatelet effect.
Oh, for sure. It has an antiplatelet effect for sure. We tell people to stop that stuff before surgery because they could bleed. Yeah. Absolutely. Nebivolol, carvedilol too. Not very strong, but a little bit.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. So, no, again, I don't use it for the cardiovascular risk reduction. I just at least I know it's fish oil and I have a lifetime supply in one of my spare bedrooms. So that's the other reason why, you know what I mean?
At least you can't, it doesn't hurt. Right. But some of these things, I'm just taking this for fun. The studies on it show that it's harmful, like niacin, tons of niacin.
Yeah,
I got tons of it sitting in my closet. Well, please stop taking it. You're killing yourself.
Well, it's over the counter.
Well, yeah, but it's still not good for you. Even if it is, why would you ever take it?
No, there's a lot of people. Believe me, there's a lot of people I've come across.
Yeah, the carnivores.
No, there's
their face is all red and flushed, and people are like, why are all the carnivores red? Well, first of all,
there's primary cares. There's primary care docs I come across and cards that I come across that swear by niacin, and they tell their patients take it 5 times a day because they think it's going to lower their LPA, which it might by a little bit. But
it does reduce LPA slightly, but it did not show improved outcomes. It showed worse outcomes.
Exactly. But
so
there's still people that use it.
Oh, I can't believe that. That would be insane. But
I know the shit that the stuff that I come across. And I talk to about 10 cardiologists a day. It's some of it makes you wonder. So,
so Linda's asking why carnivores are red and flushing. So they eat a lot of red meat, which has a lot of heme iron in it, and it deposits in your little capillaries and they turn red. Plus, they take so much niacin to offset that their faces are always red because it causes flushing. Their skin, neck is always red. Plus, they believe in getting fried in the sun because it's healthy and it's natural and it's what our ancestors did.
And if they're eating that much meat, that means their hemoglobin and their iron levels are going up. And if their iron spills over, and iron is electromagnetic, therefore can it cause an arrhythmia?
Yeah, and various types of heart failure, like constrictive, like sort of like an amyloid and sarcoid where it deposits in your heart tissue. People have really high iron levels. It can deposit in your heart tissues and you get a it's a genetic disorder. It's called
hemochromatosis.
Hemochromatosis, where you have really high iron levels. It deposits in your heart and it makes your heart stiff and it can't pump anymore. You get a very specific type of heart failure from that. They might be giving themselves that. I don't know. That's a little wild. I should probably do a video on that. I forgot about that. That's a good topic.
I only know that because my mom has it. So it's interesting.
It's definitely. They need to give blood like every week or something like that just to get rid of it.
She doesn't have to do that.
No, well, they probably have meds for it now. I'm not a hematologist, but I'm sure it's more sophisticated.
Yeah, their bone marrow produces too much erythropoietin, and that's where all the they're wouldn't it now because wouldn't John Meadows have had an issue like that, similar?
I remember from what I had lots of conversations with him, and I went down and we met and did a bunch of videos together. But the only thing I remember him telling me is he had a clotting disorder, which is public information.
But I know he was donating blood a lot. So
that part I don't.
Yeah. And by the way, if anybody knows, that's how I actually first found out about it. It was like because I was a fan of John Meadows, and I saw him do the video with John Meadows, and I thought he was John Meadows' cardiologist. So
he had his own cardiologist, but he wanted my opinion because he didn't think he was getting enough answers or the cardiologist was sitting down with him enough. So we talked on the phone for hours, and then he's like, "Hey, you want to come on my show and maybe explain my labs or something or the testosterone?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, whatever."
Did you have a YouTube channel before that?
Oh God, I've had one since before it was called YouTube.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah.
Like 2009, 2008, maybe. I've turned off some of those videos because they're super old and useless.
Oh, yes, that's the first time I ever saw you. Do that
2010, I think, is the oldest video that's on there. That's public. That's live.
Okay.
All right. Well, nice meeting everyone. So if you guys don't mind, I'm going to obviously put the audio of this on the podcast. This will be the 300th episode. And if you guys don't mind your faces being on YouTube and all, I'll put it on there and, it'll be fun. I think people get a little bit of a taste of some actual factual scientific discourse instead of the nuttery and quackery that's online sometimes. All right. Any other questions?
Hey, Andrew, were you saying earlier that the SEPA, or was it?
No.
Something I mentioned lowers hematocrit?
No, I didn't say that. No,
it's a very slight blood thinner.
Okay.
It's minimal. I mean, you're not going to bleed to death, but it's just a very minimal, slight blood thinner. If you're on aspirin, it's way more powerful anyway, so it doesn't really matter at that point.
Yeah, it's aspirin, not nattokinase. Being serious.
Listen, I threw out so many supplements once I started listening to Dr. Allo, and his basic premise that if a supplement was really worth anything, then the drug companies would have already started making it and monetizing on it, which totally makes sense. So, I mean,
they're looking for like really random, tiny little things. Like, who would have thought of looking at the saliva of a lizard from Arizona?
So like here's the problem.
Weirdest shit, like the saliva of a lizard from Arizona called the Gila monster, and nobody believed the guy that discovered it for like 20 years. It was discovered in the 80s. Finally, they're like, what is this? Amelin bought the patent off of him and tried it. It was exenatide. It was Byetta. It was the first GLP-1. And it was amazing. They're like, they made billions, I'm sure.
The problem is these supplements, and the problem is sometimes they actually do post studies, like lowers cholesterol by 25% or something like that, relative, okay, which is kind of a fake number. Right. The problem is they don't tell you that there's only 3 patients in a study, okay? I'm serious. So that's the thing, you know what I mean? That is what we would call a very, very underpowered study, if you want to even call that a study. But theoretically, you could technically say that, so it's like if I had, okay, you do a study between me and Doc, okay, and his cholesterol was 100 and mine was 50, but I took this supplement, I could technically say that, or his number was 2 and mine was 1. I could say that my number was reduced by 50% because 50% of 2 is 1. Okay, that's the relative number. That sounds very impressive, but the absolute risk of it is not impressive at all. So, and that's how numbers are kind of manipulated a little bit. So,
but like, look, like CoQ10, chondroitin sulfate, you know, all glucosamine, all the like joint pain stuff. There are studies that show that chondroitin and whatever actually makes your joints feel better. But then if you look into it and when they compare it to placebo or people that got sham surgery or whatever, there was no difference. I mean, how, and that's why they don't do it.
Like, imagine, tell me, swear about CoQ10 today. It's a true story.
I know. So CoQ10, here's the thing. If CoQ10 had enough data and it was this magical supplement that would prevent muscle aches from statins, don't you think Pfizer and AstraZeneca and all these drug companies would be like, hey, here's a brilliant new idea. Why don't we make Crestor plus CoQ10 and it's the next billion-dollar drug? It's like, here's a statin without the side effects.
Like, right. The hell with that. I'm taking it. I would just become an influencer. So,
like, don't you think that would be like a $1 billion drug? But then people will start taking it and be like, this ain't working. I'm still getting side effects. Like, I'm still
getting rid of the fish oil saved me 30 calories a day. So I was happy about that.
Track it in your app. Yeah,
so
oil is very calorie dense.
There's a great book. You've probably maybe read it, Dr. Ello, The Drug Hunters, The Impossible Quest to Discover New Medicines. Have you read this?
I have not, but it sounds
that's really good. I like the title.
It's amazing. I mean, I read it last summer. I could not put it down, and it goes through, you know, the whole history of medications and how they came about and when they were discovered, and even up.
I'm gonna get that. I can't forget that name. So
what's it called? Type it in the community later on today.
Type it in here for you guys.
Actually, it's like I did a podcast with. You might have seen it, Jason, with Dr. O'Connor, where we discussed all about rapamycin and its discovery and anti-aging, you know, which Dr. Raylo thinks is quackery, but you know what I mean? Like where we discuss how it blocks mTOR and how that helps with cellular senescence, autophagy, but how it was discovered by accident. A lot of these medicines were discovered
was that
by
one
accident.
also from fungus, I think?
It does come from a fungus on the island of Rapa Nui, yes.
Because statins also come from fungus. Oil of wintergreen is aspirin. Coumadin is sweet clover. Digoxin is
penicillin comes from a fungus.
Plants. Well, penicillin, it's absolutely a fungus.
Yeah.
I mean,
so the book for that, if you want to know all of that, is The Untold History of Healing, Plant Lore and Medicinal Magic from Stone Age to Present. And that goes through like an obscene amount. I'll type that one into.
No, but don't put them in the chat here. Put them in the community. So it's like
I will.
Preserved.
Okay, got you.
I think that way we'll have it like preserved forever. I don't know if this chat saves or not.
You want to see some gnarly stuff from back in the day? Look at trepidation. And it's crazy because there's actually like that a 50% survival rate. And like
what is that?
Trepidation.
What is that?
Trepidation was back in the day, like they try to heal you. They'd cut off. They would take something and they would stick it right through your skull because they think it would like ward off headaches, and that would probably give you a headache. And it would, no, but the truth was, it was used for like thousands of years. I think Socrates like came up with it, or it's like I read this BS, and I'm just like, I read it because it's like, wow, look how far we've come. You know,
the best is the cayenne pepper believers.
No, but you know what is really scary?
I cannot believe like how strongly held their beliefs are that cayenne pepper does something. Like, why would we not just make cayenne pepper medicine then?
They swear by it, that they've lowered whatever.
Oh my God, they're like
that's cured them.
They're so religious about it.
No, there's a lot of influencers that have cayenne pepper in their supplements, and they're like, it lowers blood pressure or something like that.
It blows your butt out, probably.
Yeah, you know what's really a scary thought? Check this. Hear me out. Like, you know how you could go back and you look at the way things were done, like, I don't know, 500 years ago even. Okay, 500 years ago. And we're like, man, those people didn't have a clue what they were doing. You imagine 500 years now, they're probably like, man, these idiots were using stuff called PCSK9 and statins, and now we have all this and whatnot.
Well, they got gene editing. It's going to all be gene editing. Like the CRISPR technology is like this is like, I mean, well, inclisiran is a gene editing. The Leqvio, the PCSK9 that just goes in and edits out your mRNA so that you don't kill your LDL receptors anymore.
You know, it would be really disappointing if I found out we weren't even talking to you. There was an AI simulated version of you.
I can attest that I'm actually real.
Yeah.
No, but like gene editing is going to be amazing. What's that?
Saffron mixed with cayenne. You're supposed to get the benefit. That's why you have to mix the cayenne with saffron.
Oh, and if you mix it with some pepper too, then it absorbs better. I don't know. They're just so insane. I don't know. I'm so and then one time I posted about Celtic salt. This lady, Barbara O'Neill, thinks Celtic salt is magical. It's just salt, but it's Celtic, but it's literally 99.99% sodium chloride, which is what all salt is.
Yes, NaCl.
It's magical, and they swear by it. Her followers. I never thought that that video would get 2 billion anti Dr. Allo comments.
She is terrifying. But I do have a really great professor that I had that is, she's a practicing herbalist. She real herbalist in terms of people that have gotten their education that are actually PhDs in biology, but then go to herbal, I don't know exactly what it's called, herbalist school. They do their practice. The amount of information that they need to know is crazy hard.
Right, Doc.
I'm going to send you a couple books to look at that we actually had for a couple courses, and it was really, really hard.
I'm not saying that that's not true.
People that actually are educated, not the people that have gone through the education and actually understand how all of this work and also incorporate it into Western medicine as well. Well, most of the people you're talking about are on these different social media outlets, and they don't have any knowledge at all. They're just talking about something that somebody told them, right?
And their whole goal is to funnel you into buying their Celtic supplements or whatever, cayenne, literally salt with the word Celtic typed over it.
Exactly.
But it's really bizarre to me.
How I first found GLP-1s was I was going to a local clinician because they had drip therapy, and I always wanted to I had an IV many times before when I was in the hospital, and I always felt so good afterwards. I was hydrated, so I was like, I want to try this again. So I went there, and they were selling semaglutide, and I was like, come on, there's no weight loss injection that's going to help. Sure enough, I was wrong.
Oh, these things are I don't even know what to call them. They're magical.
But it felt like an influencer talking to me at first.
Oh, well, that's what they're definitely the hydration clinics and the med spas and all that. They get you through the door with free massage, and then they sell you the face creams and the foot rubs and those stickers you put on your feet that supposedly remove all the toxins from your body.
Yep.
No, that's just a little bit of dust on your feet, but whatever.
Do you do that when somebody walks into your cardiology clinic?
Do I have what?
No, I'm just kidding. Keep going. Yeah.
No, I don't sell supplements out of my clinic at all. I refuse to even sell my book. Patients are like, why don't you put the book out and we can buy it? I'm like, no, I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm not selling you my book out of my cardiology clinic. That is no go. Sorry. That would be insane.
There's a lot of doctors, though, that I come across that you walk into their clinic and they have their own line of supplements and all that. They try to sell you and all that. I'm serious. You seem surprised. It's true. I see it.
I'm not surprised. I just think it's unethical.
It's odd.
Yeah.
It is unethical. I think so.
I don't think it's ethical. I won't even sell my own book.
There's this endo that I know that has his own berberine brand, and he has every single patient buy it. And it has cinnamon to it, Doc. Does that make a difference?
It raises inflammation.
Yes,
cinnamon in studies actually increases
cinnamon.
It increases inflammation.
Machine graded.
Yeah. I think he's got his own curcumin too, Doc.
I love it.
That stuff is usually contaminated with like liver toxins, but hey, who am I?
Oh man, I'm sorry guys, it's late.
Yeah, in Ohio it is.
Yeah.
Cut this
But
section
anyways-
out of the live.
No, I think it's kind of fun.
I'm
People will be
joking.
like, hey, this is like a good fun group. But
Yeah.
anyways, no, I got to get to sleep. I do have work tomorrow. It's almost midnight here.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I hope you guys liked it. For all the people that are not in the community, let us know. You're welcome to join anytime. But yeah, we'll chat next week. Anybody have anything else?
Nope. Time to wrap it up.
Nothing.
All righty. Take care,
Thanks,
everyone. Have a good night.
Later.
Good night. Thank you.
Night.